And we're live. Hello.
Hello. We get to talk about the tribe that thinks about one thing and one thing only.
Everybody loves being killed and hurt and mutilated, and we are going to kill everybody. I want to kill my children. I want to be ugly.
Red Talons!
Yes.
It's the Red Talons episode, everybody.
Johnny is very, very excited about getting to talk about the Red Talons today. Why? I honestly cannot tell, and maybe I'll learn by the end of the episode.
And we're gonna kill everybody. The Impurgium has started again. The great time of murder is at hand. Everybody stand to be counted for. The Red Talons will win the apocalypse.
The Red Talons just pulled up to the Garrow like an Alice's restaurant and said, I want to kill. I want to kill. I want to see blood. I want to see flesh between my teeth.
I want to see burnt, dead bodies. I want to kill.
And the Shadow Lord started jumping up and down with us.
Now, what been shouting, kill, 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 and the Silver Fang came and putting his hand on my shoulder and said, "You're our boy."
Shout out to Sean for the obligatory Alice's restaurant joke.
He loves that song.
I pissed off my parents playing it at a bowling alley. They're gonna evict me from that. You had a great time with that. My parents were livid. They took my wallet.
Because why the hell was that in a jukebox?
See, I thought you would enjoy it immensely, but nobody else got the joke.
I was snickering the entire time.
I know you were, and I felt bad about it, so there you go. I made a joke at everybody's expense except yours.
You need to get a bone for cringe. You need to enjoy some good cringe.
My folks don't abide cringe very well.
We're going to watch a cringe compilation after this is done.
Absolutely
we get to talk about my favorite tribe today. I have our icon stirs the pot is a Glasswalker.
Yes.
But this is my favorite tribe. I really, really like the Red Talons. I like everything about the Red Talons.
They're a bunch of fucking prudes that don't do anything fun. They hate fun. Except howling. But they hate fun. Yeah. And they hate people even more than fun.
I was able to have a decent conversation with Danny Tyson last year from Rich Across the Internet.
All right.
Who asked me what was my favorite tribe, and I said Red Talons. And when he asked me why, I said, it's because that this is a completely alien tribe. You have so many other tribes where you look at them and you immediately get the gist of what they're supposed to be, like the Get of Fenris. If you want to play the game for the first time, the Get of Fenris will be the first tribe I recommend you play, because they're Viking werewolves that kill. Easy enough.
Yep.
And the Glasswalkers, pretty simple. Bonars, pretty simple. Pretty easy to misunderstand the Bonars, but they require a little bit of explanation, but you can get the gist of the Bonars pretty quickly. And then you get the really complex tribes like the Uktena and the Shadow Lords and the Red Talons. This is the hardest werewolf tribe to play as.
True, but
I say that because you need to get into a different mind space when you play as the Red Talons, because barely anything about you is human. You need to get in the mindset of a creature that isn't you and never will be you. And there are so many different behavioral differences between man and wolf that you need to stop playing your character with logic and ethics and play an entirely emotional and impulse-based character. But even so, it needs to be off a scale of morality that humanity just does not have.
Yes.
Because, sure, this story is about my cat, but it fits with any animal because every animal does this. You know about my cat, Rose.
Yes.
And Rose is very timid. It took her a month to get used to us when we brought her into the house. And anytime a new human comes over, she wants to run away. But we brought a dog in, and then eventually she became used to a dog after, 2 different attempts of, introducing our neighbor's dog to her. And then we started pet sitting one of our friend's cats, Theo. And Theo is a larger male cat who is a lot more active. And Rosie flipped a switch where She started hissing. She kept trying to fight him. We had to separate the two at all times. And we were thinking, okay, maybe it's because Theo's a boy cat. This is a girl cat. Maybe she's feeling threatened. But then there was a time where we rescued a kitten from beneath our neighbor's porch. It was like this six-week-old kitten.
Mm-hmm.
And we brought it into the house. I sat in the bathroom with it. And it was on my lap, making biscuits on my lap. I was having a fun time with the kitten. And we had a puppy gate set up in the bathroom so it wouldn't escape. And I looked over, and Rose had her face right up to the gate, just glaring at the kitten. I'm thinking, Rose, this guy is a fourth of your size. What is he going to do to you? And of course, he gets up and starts walking over to Rose, and Rose is hissing so much that she can't even get a full breath in for the next hiss. And then she starts growling, which I've never heard her do before. And then the next day I started thinking about it, and I thought, oh, I understand now. It's not because these cats are boys. It's not because they're other... Well, it partially is because they're other cats. But it's more that they're in your territory, and you think you can square up to them, and you think you can chase them out of their territory. That's the thing with the Red Talons. You don't see the other tribes as your friends. You see these guys as your next alpha or your next beta, or even your next omega. And you are going to either be submissive or be dominant with it. If you think you can take that wolf, you are going to act aggressive around it. You're going to let it know that you are the boss of the pack of werewolves. And if you think you can't take him in a fight, you'll try to appease him the best way you can, to try to avoid getting hurt yourself. And that's the kind of mentality you need to get into with the Red Talons. Just stop thinking like a person, start thinking like an alien. And that's the reason why I like the Red Talons so... That's why I like the Red Talons so much. But we're going to get further into this.
Yes. Okay. I noticed that a lot of the things when I was reading about them today to do some research, a lot of what they do involves scaring, killing, or rejuvenating the earth. That's basically it.
This is a tribe that is... Well, they were at the music bot. This is a tribe that is made for killing. And these guys accept their role that Gaia gave them. That they know that they are put on this earth to kill, specifically humans. That's what they're made for.
Exactly.
And they're said to be a wild tribe, but they're not as wild as the Black Furies. And I don't even think they're that wild. I think they're more Gaian aligned than anything else. Like, this is Gaia's intention for the world perfectly distilled into one tribe. That's what the Red Talons are.
Well, and Gaia's intention is to kill all the humans which she created.
A lot of people want to say that Gaia is the universal big good of World of the Apocalypse. No, she's not. Gaia is just as capricious as the Wyrm, the Weaver, the Wild, and Luna. Gaia wants to reduce humanity to where they were before the Neolithic Age. That is what she wants. There is no debate about that. There's no argument behind that. She wants an anti-human future. And she wants plants and animals to be the only thing that exist on her. Humans are allowed to live, but they can't have societies the same way that we have today. Not even close to resembling that.
So everything that mankind has done is perversion of her vision.
Exactly. Everything that the Weaver did. Where we get to talk about that because that's how the history begins.
Yes. Wait a minute. Wolves don't have oral tradition. You can't talk about history.
No, they don't. So a lot of this information is secondhand when you talk about the Red Talons. I don't even think the Red Talons have a narrator for their book. Because I think all of this is orated from a Galliard of a different tribe. And the narrator changes between each chapter.
Oh, yeah?
So a lot of this information is very matter of fact. It's very straight to the point. And that's how your typical Red Talon conversation will go. A Red Talon is going to get straight to the point and isn't going to mess around, is not going to give you any opinions. We are going to talk about the Children of Gaia in 2 weeks. And you're going to find out just how difficult it is to get a straight answer out of the Children of Gaia. Because everybody in the Children of Gaia needs to have their voice, and every voice is different. The Red Talons, they have reached a consensus very quickly. You will find very little Red Talons that disagree with each other. And I think the only camp that stands out from the other camps is the Whelps Compromise.
Yes.
Because the Lodge of the Predator Kings, Wardens of the Land, Winter Wolves, and Dying Cubs are pretty much on the same page. They just do it a little differently.
Yeah.
We begin with the history. The Wild created the world, as we discussed in the Black Talons. I combined Black Furies and Red Talons. Black Furies episode, and the Weaver gave it shape, the Wyrm allowed death on the planet, and that's how it started. And the Wild just kept creating and creating and creating and creating plants, and just kept making plants, and the Weaver and the Wyrm were trying to get something done and saw all the plants coming. It's like working in an assembly line and seeing just the massive pile of plants coming down the line, and you know you can't get it done. It starts falling off the assembly line as it comes to you. And the Weaver said, dude, can you chill? And the Wild said no, and the Wild just kept making plants. So Gaia made animals, and animals started eating the plants. And then the Wild started making more animals. And eventually there were so many animals, they ate all the plants, and nothing else was allowed to grow. And then the Weaver once again said, dude, could you stop? Wild didn't even respond, just kept making animals. So Gaia said, okay, we're going to make animals that eat other animals. And then finally, the ecosystem became controlled. We now have animals that will eat the plant-eating animals that will eat the plants, and then when the plants need food, they will eat off the fungus and zooplankton that come from dead animals. And I think I might have mixed up the facts a little bit there, but you get the idea. Circle of life.
Yes.
And everything is good for a while. This goes on for a pretty undetermined amount of time. The Red Talons don't cite any dates in this book. It's all just meshed
hearsay
together.
Well,
it's
they don't have an oral tradition, so it's anybody's guess, really.
They're like the ancient Hebrews, where they focus on the present, and only the present. If we talk about the past, we're not going to give a date. This just happened at some point in history. That's behind us. We're looking at what's happening right here and now. And as the time goes on, you start noticing a little difference happens with the Wyrm. The Weaver, sick of the Wild, tried binding the Wild in her webs, but the Wild escaped. So the Wyrm starts looking and sees that the Weaver is stepping out of her bounds a little bit. She tried to attack the Wild, and now she's going around trying to make cities. She's partially responsible for the creation of vampires. And thanks to her, a gauntlet exists. So the Wyrm starts thinking, you're making a little too much progress. Let's start toppling over what you've done. The Weaver tries to build a coral reef. The Wyrm sends starfish to eat the reef. The Weaver tries building a forest. The Wyrm sends a fire that destroys the entire forest. The Weaver tries creating a mountain. The Wyrm sends so much rainfall it erodes the mountain and turns it into a pile of dirt. And the Wyrm is having a great time. And then the Weaver sends a formal complaint to Gaia saying, can you step in with the Wyrm the same way that you stepped in with the Wild? And Gaia gets so sick of these three bickering that she says, well, if we're going to be like this, I'll just blow up. That's what I'll do. I'll just self-destruct. I'll blow up and I'll just become nothing. And you'll have no plant to play with. And the Wild and Weaver take it seriously. And the Wyrm does at first, but the Wyrm begins to think, I have nothing to lose if Gaia dies. I mean, I am death. I am the cosmic force of death, decay, and entropy. What does it matter if Gaia dies? So the Wyrm just keeps going on as usual. The Wild and the Weaver are showing restraint. The Wyrm no longer cares. So the Wyrm just starts going crazy, just causing destruction everywhere. The world turns into a death planet. And the Wyrm may or may not be responsible for the meteor that kills the dinosaurs. But, that's speculation.
Yeah.
And eventually, the Wyrm starts thinking, the Wild has the ability to create everything. And the Weaver has her spiders, her pattern spiders, and her Ananasi. And Gaia made the changing breeds. I don't have anything. I don't have anything that I have because I physically, cosmically can't create anything. So the worm looks over at humans and starts thinking and thinks hands, feet, intelligence, the knowledge between good and evil. Ah. So the Garden of Eden story technically happens where the worm comes over and says, well, I am the genius. I am the smartest thing there'll ever be. You need to listen to everything I say, and I'm going to teach you a bunch of things. And the figurative apple of the tree of knowledge is eaten, and the worm pretty much fulfills the role of Azazel in Jewish mythology, where Azazel's the one who taught humans how to use fire, jewelry, weaponry, and starts teaching humans how to make this stuff. And the worm is very pleased with himself and thinks, I am going to cause so much death and so much destruction, and it's going to be awesome, and I've made humans my own thing. Everything is great, and he's smiling, and he doesn't notice the Weaver sneaking up right behind him like that Undertaker meme.
Yep.
And then the worm is bound by the Weaver. And in the absolute pain of being sprayed with her stasis webs, he goes insane and rips out 3 aspects of himself that become the Triadic worm. The balanced worm, the original image of the worm, is stuck in the Weaver's realm, stuck in her webs, seemingly for all eternity, while the Triadic worm fulfills the place of the worm, and the Triadic worm aren't nearly as good at the job as the balanced worm was, leading to the horrible imbalance and all the horrible, horrible things we know today. And that is their story of original sin.
Yeah.
So, and now we get into... Fault. Yeah, it's the Weaver's the true enemy.
Yeah.
You gotta look at all these...
We'll get into that later.
This is the libertarian themes of Werewolf the Apocalypse. You need to look out for the authoritarians. Those are the guys you need to keep an eye on.
Yes, absolutely.
Time goes on. The Garou are deemed the warriors of Gaia, and something happens. The wolves are just minding their own business, and they see a human just walk right up to them, and they're curious about it. All of a sudden, the human pulls out a spear and stabs a wolf with it and starts chasing after it, and then chases it down and then just kills it for fun and not for food. And they call this event the first murder. This is what starts the pro-impergium within the minds of the Red Talons. As we know back then, the tribes didn't really exist in name, but it was a bunch of different wolves under different philosophies. So the wolves start thinking, we need to start killing people. And this is before the Impergium starts. And they're looking at the humans, and they strongly believe they're talking to the worm. And if you're looking at Vampire around the same time, this is around the time that Cain discovers the first tribe is talking to demons. And throws Nurgle and Moloch down the well, and they come back to the Bali Empires. So the Red Talons are right. They are talking with the worm, and they're not having an issue with it. It seems that humans like talking to demons. They like talking to evil stuff. They want to be evil. They want to be ugly. And the Red Talons look at this, and they start killing humans. And eventually, the Impergium begins. I guess enough Red Talons lobbied to the Silver... And the Silverfangs said, you're right, we should kill the humans. And the Red Talons see this as the best days of their lives. They loved killing humanity, and they just massacred everybody. They didn't care who it was. This included the kinfolk of other tribes, where if you were a human, you died. It was plain and simple. And the Red Talons just killed everything, just kept going and going and going and going. It was death on an industrial scale. And then they were told to stop. And they think, what the fuck? We're doing what you told us to do. We're killing all the people. We came to you and told you why we need to kill everybody. And the Silverfang said, no, and come with us to this moot. We're going to make the litany. And the wolves are thinking, well, why are we doing this? We're wolves. Why are you making a body of law? And of course, the litany happens, and the litany passes, and the Red Talons are given no vote. Because the Red Talons have not formally made themselves a tribe yet. So when the Elder-to-be walks over to the Silverfang and says, well, why didn't we get to vote? the Surfing keeps going, well, you're not a tribe. Well, you're not a tribe. You don't get to vote if you're not a tribe. Just starts getting in his face.
Mm-hmm.
And it pisses off the Red Talon to the point where he takes his talons and rams them into the Surfing's chest and guts him, like slashes him across the chest, and says, you want a tribe? That's our tribe. And they just point at the wound they left on his chest. I don't think... They didn't say if they killed him or not. I'm pretty sure he did.
Given the propensity for violence the Red Talons have, that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
And that's how they got their name, the Red Talons. It was a tribe that was founded on the glories of killing people.
Yeah.
Fantastic. If you're a 40K fan and you're getting Blood Angels or World Eaters vibes from this, you're thinking right.
Yeah, basically.
We get the
they
corn
just
out,
hate
Kyle.
people, fuck people, people suck, kill them. The Na'vi were the good guys in the Avatar movies, whatever.
And then human times began, the Neolithic Age, and everything sucks because humans know how to farm, and they're domesticating animals, and it sucks. And the Red Talons love animals. They hate humans. But funny enough, the Red Talons love other animals, and they love trees. And they detail in this book how they properly kill an animal. There's a ritual to this. I follow animal, I'm very quiet, prey animal notices me. Me and prey animal make eye contact, prey animal runs away, I chase prey animal, I catch prey animal, I kill prey animal, I eat prey animal, and then prey animal's body rots, I do something with the bones, and then the game starts all over again, and then the animal's reincarnated as per the cycle of Gaia. And that's how it's supposed to go. And humans are ruining the ritual because now they're domesticating animals and feeding them to the point where they're fat, and then they kill them. And they hate this. They say this is not the way that Gaia intended. You're supposed to chase these guys and kill them. Which is also why they have issues with other tribes, because other tribes... Most wolves have forgotten how to hunt within some of these tribes. You ask a child of Gaia or a Glasswalker to go into lupus form and chase an animal down in the woods and see how well they perform.
Probably not very well.
Especially all the hippies there and the children of Gaia.
Yep.
Next up is the War of Rage, another fun time. And the Red Talons had a personal beef against the girl. The girl, as we have briefly detailed before, are necromancers. But it's not necromancy. But it is necromancy, but it's not necromancy. Because they're able to raise the dead. But it's a gift that if you make one error in, it will turn that person into a zombie that will start attacking everything. And the Red Talons see this and say, you're either going to teach us how to do this, or we're going to kill you. The girl will refuse to teach them because they know the werewolves will get it wrong. And so the Red Talons start killing the girl en masse and drive them to the point of extinction. And the only way the girls survive is by going into hibernation. And of course they kill a few Macaulay and all the other breeds and the rats. And then eventually the War of Rage ends, and once again, same story. We're super disappointed that we can't kill anything anymore. And we're trying to do it, but we're not going to get caught doing it. And then they notice that humans start making stuff out of metal, and now the disparity is even worse. Every year we're not having an Impergium. Humans get a little bit better. They just discovered the Bronze Age. Great. And now our necks are on the line, and now they're learning how to make stuff out of silver, our one natural weakness. Who the hell taught them how to make silver weapons? And so the Concord happens, and then the Gaia Nation as we know it today forms. And the Red Talons look at all these other tribes, and the only tribe they would trust is to get a Fenris to do this job, but a lot of Red Talons say we are the only smart tribe. And that's because we're not playing around with the Wyrm itself, because we know who the real minion of the Wyrm is, the humans. If you look at the Wyrm cultists, they're humans. If you look at most Fomori, they're humans. If you look at most vampires, they used to be human. You look at evil mages, they have to be human. And you look at people who are encouraging the unseelie court, those are also human. It's humans are the issue with everything. That's why the Red Talons say we need to kill humans already and stop messing around. And as we learned from Werewolf 5th edition, they're right.
That wasn't where I thought you were going with that, but you know what? Yes.
The Red Talons were in the right the entire time, and if you just listened to them, if you just made the Red Talons the leaders, we wouldn't have an issue today.
Well, yeah, because there'd be no more people.
The moral of the story is take everything the Red Talons tells you as seriously as possible. They're right about everything. They never make mistakes.
I wouldn't go that far, but, you know.
And then, of course, they cite the Black Spiral Dancers forming, and they say, yeah, it sucks, but, it's your own fault for, being weak and letting the Gefenris kick your ass and letting the Fomori kick your ass and just being too human. So, too bad, so sad. We don't really care for you. We don't really cry for you either. It happens. But it sucks that happens because now you're in our faces, ruining our plans. And now it's harder to be a wolf because the Wyrm just claimed a tribe. And so they hate the Black Spiral Dancers right out the gate, as much as the Fianna do. And in fact, when we get into relationships later on, I think it's up for debate as to who hates the Black Spirals more, the Fianna or the Red Talons.
I mean, the Fianna hate the Black Spiral Dancers because they were their friends, the White Howlers, and so they feel partially responsible for what happened to them by not trying to stop them more than they did. And now I feel like the Fianna just want to stop their friends from suffering.
Well, the Red Talons look at that as a betrayal, where you not only stayed too close to humanity, but you joined the Wyrm. And you are a dark reflection of what could happen to every other tribe, which is why we need to work harder, which is why we need to make sure that the Wyrm stays in check so he doesn't claim another tribe. And because you keep defiling and you keep consuming and you keep causing calamity, we need to dedicate everything we have to kill the Black Spirals too. So the Red Talons just need everybody. That's the plain simple plan.
Yeah, basically.
The word of the day is kill for this episode.
We want to kill.
We want to kill, and of course the well, actually, when we get to page 25 in the second edition book, they start fast forwarding through history, and I wonder why. It's because these guys didn't write anything down.
Well, yeah, they just kind of.
You'll have Red Talons who know English and who know human languages and they know how to read them, but you will never catch them writing or speaking it. They will always insist that you talk to them in the Geru tongue. Which unfortunately does not have a written language. Yeah, because they're wolves. Wolves don't make paper. Wolves don't pick up pencils. Wolves don't make books. They don't do that. Wolves don't have libraries. So all you Galliards doing that, stop doing it. That's not very wolf-like behavior.
I remember fucking when you were first writing to me about the Red Talons, and I was first developing Tyler for the game. We wrote this quick little ditty about how Tyler's chilling in his cairn. He's got a caravan. He's brewing his own beer, and then he invites a Red Talon in. And Red Talon's like, "You're not supposed to brew beer. Wolves don't have beer." And I'm like, "What? Forget me for being comfy. What? You like my caravan?" He's like, "Wolves aren't supposed to live in a caravan." And I'm like, eventually Tyler just got sick of it.
You're doing all this human behavior. You're doing all this. You're living beneath a roof. You have a rug. You have beer. You're wearing clothes. Stop doing that. Get out of it.
Tyler
You're
just
a
cracks
wolf.
open another beer. Okay, Talon. Lights up a cigarette. That's why I like the Fianna. They don't care. Which I think it's funny that the tribe novel has the Red Talons and the Fianna together on it. I think that's hysterical.
They're bonded together by their mutual hatred for the Black Spirals.
Yeah, alright. But, we'll work together, but they don't party the same. It's a darn shame.
That's also relationship summarized. Don't call a Red Talon unless you want something dead.
Basically.
And now we start fast-forwarding everything. The Wyrm coming, of course, happens. Of course, that sucks because humans have taken over the Pure Lands, and now we don't have as many forests anymore. They're cutting down their trees to make fortresses. Okay, that sucks. Of course, the Eater of Storms gets loose. They also say that sucks. And then the War of Tears happens. And the War of Tears, we can now talk about this formally. This is one of my favorite stories in Werewolf the Apocalypse. And it has one of my favorite characters in it, too. There are 3 legacy characters that come from the Red Talons that I really, really, really like. And this guy's picture, it's fucked up looking. It's very hard to make out what you're looking at, but it fits the character. Pull it up on the screen. This is Wyrm, who is the Garou Nation incarnate. And he is the reason why everything has gone horribly, horribly wrong in Australia. Well, not the sole reason, but one of the major contributors. So, you have Australia. Of course, it's a prison colony for the British way back in the 1800s. And then they decide they want to start colonizing it because the UK is getting a little too crowded. We need we need more living space. And we have an entire continent where nobody seems to be using it. Let's take it for ourselves. And then you have Australian history, the Aboriginals, and all the horrible, horrible stuff that happened with the British, where that was the nicest way to genocide an entire race of people. I say that with Galliard's humor.
Jesus.
And that was the whole birthplace of eugenics and everything. But the Red Talons, of course, following humans, wanting to kill them, they send a bunch of Red Talons over to build a garrison and a cairn in Australia, and it is led by Wyrm. And Wyrm is deranged. He is incredibly violent. And that is what you did back in the day. The biggest, baddest, strongest, most violent wolf in your pack was the alpha. No question about it. And Wyrm is, of course, thinking about how he's going to kill everybody, including the Aboriginals, because he doesn't give a fuck. And he sees the bunyip, the Tasmanian tiger that shifts back and forth between Tasmanian tiger and human. And he's looking at them and saying, this is a pathetic imitation of a wolf. These guys suck. You think you're a wolf, you try acting like you're a wolf, and your totem sucks. Rainbow Serpent, he sucks, and everything about you just sucks, and I will have nothing to do with you. And Wyrm does everything he can to snub the bunyip and just interrupt any sort of interaction that werewolves have with the bunyip. And then a few weeks later, 2 Red Talons are found mutilated in bunyip territory. It's to the point where you can barely recognize who the corpses used to be. And of course, because these are Red Talons and bunyip territory, Wyrm automatically assumes that it was the bunyip who did this. And now we have a small war of rage happening in Australia. And the bunyip, I said before with the Camazots that it just didn't make sense that it just rolled over and died, but the bunyip try fighting and then just are like cowering in fear, like begging the Uktena to help them, as the Red Talons just come in and start killing all of them. And there's not that many Thylacines to begin with, because the British were already hunting these guys to extinction. And then when they get to the last bunyip, Wyrm corners him in the Umbra and says, I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to rejoice after I do it. And he goes over and, of course, kills the last remaining bunyip, who shifts back into Hamid form upon death. And he finds out this was I think it was a 13-year-old boy that he killed. It's a bunyip. Jesus. And then, of course, immediately, looking at the body in his hands, he just stares at it for a little bit. And then the whole gravity of the situation just falls on him, and he realizes what he did with the genocide, and just has a mental breakdown right then and there in the Umbra. And the Defiler Wyrm, as nice as the Defiler Wyrm is, pays a visit to Wyrm while he's having his breakdown, and says, oh, I'm sorry, it smells like bitch in here. I thought you were a badass, and I see you doing this? You're so pathetic, I almost don't want to tell you the real story behind this, but I'm merciful, I'm the Defiler Wyrm, I'm such a nice person, I'm going to tell you anyway. We set you up. It was the Black Spiral Dancers who killed those 2 Red Talons. The bunyip were innocent the entire time. And this was a perfect setup because we knew that you were too stupid to realize the difference. And of course, the Defiler Wyrm leaves laughing. Wyrm just lives the rest of his life in Hirano after that, just realizing that he played directly into the hands of the Wyrm. And that perfectly summarizes every issue you have in the history of the Killer Nation. Because these guys kept wanting to make their most violent and deranged members leaders. When, if you want a nation like this to succeed, you need leaders with compassion, logic, and understanding. Which is why the Children of Gaia, the Shadow Lords to an extent, and the Glasswalkers have done so well in the recent years, and why every other tribe is seemingly on the decline. Well, granted, take that with a grain of salt for the Bonars, because the Bonars have always been destitute, but a lot of tribes like the Silverfangs and the Stargazers, and to an extent, the Fianna, they're all struggling because they keep wanting to make their most violent Aruns the leaders.
Yeah, so
you were saying?
No, I was just thinking that it's like, well, that's kind of indicative of the Red Talons in general. It's just like wolves don't think logically. Wolves think very just animals in general think on nature over everything. You know, if it's in their nature to have the strongest people be the alpha, that's what they're going to do. And like that kind of makes you wonder, is like, how can the Red Talons fault any other tribe for also making their leaders just as fucking brutal and violent as themselves, and then still call them not wolf enough? It doesn't really make any sense. But then again, logic does not govern the mind of a wolf.
We can bring up that as a trouble flaw now. It's that the Red Talons just refuse to let the past die. It's that whole kill the past motif. You're so dedicated to your way of life that you have been living for millennia, and you are so afraid of your own totem Griffin that you refuse to reinvent yourself. Sure, you will lose a ton of renown, all of your rights, all of your gifts if you do that. But in a world where we are well and truly in the Anthropocene era, we have microplastics in our food, we have nuclear material in our rocks, we can't deny that humans have permanently modified the planet. And because of this, the Red Talon way of life just can't really exist anymore.
Well, it's not just...
And if you want to keep...
Go ahead.
If you want to keep going on as Red Talons, you need to get some reformation today. Because the way you've been living for millennia, that time has passed, and you need to reinvent yourself. But they just refuse to do it.
It's not just that. It's also that in pretty much every other tribe book that we have read, all of them express a level of I don't know how to put it, but like they wish that the Red Talons would accept that Mother Gaia had made werewolves of both man and wolf in order to be her guardian against unnatural forces. And the Red Talons have done nothing but shun any ounce of humanity within them, which, you know, without that human side will eventually lead them just to blind animalistic rage. And that in doing so would eventually turn them to the Wyrm themselves, even if they, much like what happened with the Bunyip in the War of Tears, that they became so embroiled in their own animalistic rage that they refused to look at a situation logically. And it led to the downfall of another breed.
Mm-hmm. This is how a persecution complex forms, because you become so obsessed. Their idea is that if we keep turning human, the Wyrm will gain more and more control over us. But they say that, and yet they have gifts in their camps, that come from Wyrmish spirits, and they believe also at the same time using the Wyrm to fight the Wyrm. And one hand does not wash the other. Iron isn't sharpening iron here. And you have become so paranoid that you are making mental gymnastics to try to justify your own actions.
Exactly. I mean, I feel like... I don't know. I had a thought and I lost it. Never mind.
And thinking about the Red Talons, this is why I don't think in any apocalypse scenario these guys live to see the end. Because in Times of Judgment Apocalypse, even if they don't fall to the Wyrm, I think in the Traitor Tribe, the Weaver Ascending, and the Ragnarok scenario, they always die no matter what the situation is.
Right. Oh,
and this is exactly why.
That's what I was thinking. The Wyrm wasn't always just the ultimate force of evil within the world. Like we said in the beginning, that the Wyrm was the balance worm. He was the force of death in order to counter life and keep all living things on Mother Gaia in balance. Things live, things die, things give life to the dead thing gives life to other living thing. And I feel like that's another thing we were talking about with the Stargazers, just that like they believed that the balance worm was still trapped in the webs of the Weaver deep within the Umbra. And that's definitely not going to work out well for them. But at the same time, the Wyrm is a necessary thing. I mean, we talked about this a little bit in the Black Furies episode, where which camp was it that said, we know we can't defeat the Wyrm. We can't get rid of the Wyrm forever. It's always going to be there. But what they what's up?
I think that's an ethos shared amongst the entire tribe. I think it might have been specifically the freebooters who said that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
that are the Amazons of Diana, but it's that they say this is death. We can't stop death, but we can try to keep it at bay.
And that's what the Gaia need to focus on when it comes to the Wyrm. You don't need to destroy everything that kills. You need to make sure that the amount of death that occurs doesn't outweigh the amount of life given.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the werewolves want to deny that the rage that they use to fight the Wyrm comes from the Wyrm. That's where they get their power from.
Yes. That's been noted many times. And that's why if your rage meter gets full, you go fucking insane and kill everything you look at.
And really, this is where history stops. Because the rest of the history chapter of this book is dedicated to environmental issues, where me and you were talking about this before, and they talk about deforestation, but that's... Granted, the Amazon rainforest is experiencing some horrible fires, and so is Nova Scotia, British Columbia, and the whole nature of these fires.
And fucking Maui, but we already know that was Black Rock.
Yeah, there's a lot of conspiracy behind it, and me and Kyle are both looking at this saying something's up with this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But the severe deforestation, that only really happens anymore in Tragedy of the Commons, where you have a corporation that really has no idea what it's doing in terms of sustainability, or a farmer who's pushed to desperation, who will destroy a forest without replacing any of the trees, where every company today that makes paper products or wood products knows that you need to plant a tree to replace the tree you just cut down. We're sustainable today, but granted, this was written in the very late 90s, early 2000s, and judging from how some of these books were written, I think a lot of these books were written in advance and then released one after the other, because to tell you what I mean, Tribe Book Wendigo First Edition came out 7 years after Second Edition started.
Really?
To put into perspective.
That's
yes.
pretty wild.
That book came out in 2001, Second Edition started in 1994. So... during the late 90s, you still had movies like Fern Gully, where you believed every word that piece of shit. But anytime I bring up Fern Gully, it ruins my day.
Why?
Just that movie fucking sucks, dude. And I talked with Sean about it, and he said, yeah, I watched that movie as a kid. And even as a kid, I thought this was bullshit. And I said, thank you for saying that, because I was thinking the same thing. And it's just such anal flux bullshit talking about deforestation and caring for the environment. Well, guess what? The Amazon kind of sucks, dude. There's a lot of stuff in there that wants to kill you.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean we can just fucking destroy it. Like I said, it produces a third of the world's oxygen.
But at the same time, start going like, oh, the trees, we're eliminating the trees, it's going to end the world, we're eliminating the trees. Like, I get it, right? Sustainability, but stop crying your eyes out over this stuff.
I think the Lorax overall was a better, and not the fucking Illumination Lorax, the old 2D anime, or hell, even the book is a better environmental message than Fern Gully.
Yeah. Am I bad? Am I bad? Oh, am I bad?
Yeah, fuck that fucking song. It's like, yeah, if you over industrialize, you're going to fucking kill everything, and then nobody's gonna want to live there anymore.
That's not how that song goes at all. I bet.
Yeah, I don't remember how it is either, but I'm not even gonna question it because I didn't like the fucking the Lorax movie. It's dumb as shit. Fucking O'Hare air bull fucking shit. Get that out of here. I cannot get a fucking thought strung together today. I'm just a mess. Anyway, so
you got the wild brain.
Yeah, today. I don't know why. I've just been kind of all over the place. So, yeah, Red Talons don't like history all that much because they don't like writing. Who would have thought?
And now today with the Red Talons, I remember in first edition, they use lyrics from "Wish You Were Here" by Pink Floyd to describe how they feel about nature. Because, dog, these guys love animals and they love trees. And so many species have gone extinct over the years. And the Red Talons love every one of them. It's very hard to imagine Red Talons being happy. But you read the description of the Galliard, and they have, like, chiefs of play. Like, werewolves in the tribe who are dedicated to leading play and having fun in the tribe. And they had fun with all these other animals. It was like, it wasn't the lion will lay down with the lamb kind of fun, but they knew how to enjoy themselves and knew how to enjoy time with other animals. And now they can't do that anymore. And so many of their talents, so many of their totems, I'm sorry,
So good.
are animals that have gone extinct, or animals who are long dead, super powerful animals that have hung on and just refuse to die. Once again, the refusal to kill the past. Eventually, the past is going to consume you if you keep dwelling on it. And where they stand today is that they are the #1 lobbyist of the Impergium. They are constantly sitting outside the Silverfang's office asking, when are we going to start the Impergium? When are we going to start the Impergium? I will pay you 20 trees to start the Impergium. Or whatever they use for currency. I'm trying to think of like
fish.
Buying a congressman analogy here.
Yeah, buying a Garrow with fish.
We will give you 5,000 loaves and fish if we start the Impergium again.
Basically, yes.
And of course, the Silverfangs have never met these demands because the Silverfangs don't really do anything anymore.
Well, no, they sit around being senile.
I love King Nothing. He's my favorite.
Yes, we all love King Nothing. Okay, what now?
What happens now? I'm going through the book and seeing what's going to happen now. I think, well, we can do breeds, and breeds is that this is very easy to explain because almost all of these guys are lupus.
Yep.
You gotta get into that wolf mentality. It's a werewolf breeding with another wolf, and that is how every Red Talon is made. But they say shit happens. Sometimes a mess is made. Where we get into lore character number 2. Behold, Crookpaw. In case you're wondering what this picture is, they tried making a trading card game as if they weren't spending enough money.
You never know what'll take off.
So he's listed here as a Ragabash. I've seen him also listed as a Galliard in first edition. But to explain who Crookpaw is, first of all, you can guess how he got his name.
Yeah, that one fucked up paw up front.
And he's a metis. He's got 2 deformities. He's got no hair, and he's got a fucked up foot. And his whole shtick is that he is the ambassador of the Impergium. He will go to other tribes and teach about how good it feels to kill a human, and he tries to get as many people on the Red Talon side as possible. He will also teach you how to be more wolf-like. In case you're forgetting what it's like to be a wolf, he'll teach you what it's like to be a wolf again. And if you're a metis in the Red Talons, you can live as long as you're badass. Most Red Talons will be able to judge a metis at birth and say whether or not this metis is going to survive or be a burden on the tribe. And then they'll kill it and sacrifice it to Griffin. And it is lovely. And no, you can't be a Homid in the Red Talons because they will kill you if that happens.
Well, yeah, because you're a human.
Even if you manage to fool every member of the pack, as we're going to go into a reading later, you can't fool the totem. We're going to leave that anticipation for a minute. Let's do relationships next.
All right, cool. So, a lot to go around when it comes to relationships. Johnny was so excited for me to do Oh wait, do you want me to do camps or relationships first?
Relationships.
Okay. So Johnny was so excited that he decided to go ahead and make a short list of all the stuff for all the different relationships. And I wanted to do my regular note-taking one, but I decided to divide it into several different categories when it came to the other Garrow. We have their actual brothers. We have people they're cool with. We have people they're okay with, or people that only kind of annoy them. We have losers, and then we have hate, and we have kill. Those are the categories we're working with. So starting at the top, they're brothers. The Wendigo. They love the Wendigo. They are fierce like them. They are bloodthirsty like them, sometimes literally. And that kind of rage does make some other people nervous, and their cannibalism doesn't always escape the Talons, but they always will fight happily alongside one another, and always tread carefully when you're in Wendigo territory. They love the fact that the Wendigo hate people as much as they hate people, and figure, hey, let's be friends and kill people together. And the Wendigo are like, fuck yeah, let's kill some people. They are the best of friends.
And when we bring up cannibalism, it's specifically the heart. It's not about the taste, it's about sending a message.
Yes. Bite the beating heart out of an Englishman in front of the other Englishmen.
And of course, it makes sense that the wolf supremacist will be best friends with the race supremacist.
Yes. Okay, so moving on to tribes they are cool with. There are two in this category. You have the Black Furies, because they are staunch defenders of the wild. They protect many lupus kin and keep the wolf breed very healthy. However, the only blemish they have is that a lot of Furies spend their lives defending humans, most notably female humans, which the Talons don't like for obvious reasons, because they would want to kill all the humans. So they're okay with the Black Furies just because they like the wild. Likewise, under that category are the Get Ephemeris. They likewise share the Red Talons' bloodlust. However, they feel like their human side sways them from the righteous path. They don't like the whole berserker rage stick, because wolves don't fly into a frenzy and kill shit. They are methodical predators that hunt their prey and then track them and kill them. And as the book quoted, they smell and act like rabid wolves much of the time. And many of their Midas are happy to die for Mother Gaia, but I do not wish to join them just yet, because I have more killing to do. So Black Furies, Get Ephemeris, they're kind of cool with. What's up?
There's a fun picture involving a Get Ephemeris, where you see a Red Talon scoring up to fight a Get Ephemeris. And of course the Red Talon has his war face on. He's hunched over, he's growling, his eyes are pure white. And the Get Ephemeris is just standing there with just a stone look on his face.
Yep.
Just not having any of it. And that's because, yeah, they'll fight sometimes, of course, because, Red Talons, we solve all of our problems with violence. And the Get Ephemeris know that every time they go into a fight with a Red Talon, they will always win. Because the Get Ephemeris are just that badass.
They're just better.
Which is kind of why they're okay with the Get Ephemeris, because they know we can't pull our shit with these guys. We have to go along with what they say when they show up, because if we try fighting them, we will always lose every fight.
They'll kick the shit out of us.
Yes.
All right, moving on to tribes they're kind of okay with or have some complicated history with. Firstly, the Silent Striders. They're okay. So they worry a lot of the Red Talons greatly. They don't have any real territory. A lot of them don't look like wolves or smell like wolves, and they hang around Ghost all the time. Whenever they show up, it's always with bad news, and they see them as a very flawed tribe. However, they are very well respected in African Red Talon tribes, and nobody beats them in a foot race because they're the Silent Striders. They're fast, they travel everywhere. Overall, they're all right, but they always bring bad news, and they always have ghosts hanging around them, which is scary as shit for a wolf.
We would be best friends if you would just drop your ghost addiction.
I can quit any time I want.
Which you have no control over. These ghosts will follow you forever.
Exactly. The Uktena. So they like the Uktena, but they don't, but they do. They have a very strange relationship with the Uktena. Supposedly, the Red Talons were in the Americas before the rest of the European Garrow. However, the Talons have the same problems as the Uktena or have the same problems with the Uktena and Wendigo as the Fianna do, is that they have too much human kinship. Like the Uktena and Wendigo still have too much human in them, and they don't really like that because, of course, they don't. The Red fucking Talons. The Uktena seem to have a penchant for secrets, and they act very smug about it. The Red Talons hate that because they see keeping secrets as lies. They want everything out in the open, otherwise you're wasting their time. However, in most cases, the Uktena will stand shoulder to shoulder with the American Red Talons, specifically in the Southwest, trying to save the wolves, and in doing so have started a resurgence of the Impergium in northern Mexico. So they agree and disagree on a number of different things, but overall they will fight side by side if push comes to shove.
And I am going to pull up something for you in regards to what you just said about wolf population.
Yes.
So when this game was written, wolves were a endangered species, and some of them have gone extinct already because the Canis lupus. By the time wolf conservation efforts started, it was already too little, too late to save those wolves. Because, yeah, I'm pulling it up. There were only 9 red wolves left in the wild. Going off of this map.
How the fuck did that happen? Was this when they started forest conservation and then they thought, oh, these wolves are killing all the deers or something?
Yeah, because we only started really giving a shit about wolves in the 70s. So, yeah, that's the map I'm talking about. And yeah, the red wolf is already dead, dude.
Yeah, that's fucked.
Yeah. But at the same time, sure, you got Alaska, and that's where that is Wendigo and Red Talon Central. They love being in Alaska, and they love killing all the mariners and people working in oil rigs. But that southwest area, there's a little bit more wolves south of that. And the Red Talons are looking at the Uktena saying, thank you for keeping us alive in Arizona and New Mexico and a little bit in Texas. Thank you so much for doing that. Can you please stop talking about, I don't know, the Black Panther around us? We don't want to hear any race shit.
Yeah, it was like, I don't care about race. I just want to kill humans in general. Fuck it.
Wolves don't believe in security.
Yes. Okay. Moving on from that, we have the Shadow Lords. Whenever a Shadow Lord shows up, their first thought is usually, what the hell does he want? Leave us alone. We don't care. However, one of their messengers, the Margrave, has reported back that the Lords can, under circumstance, be trusted. And if the Silver Fangs ever do fall, the Lords might be what keep the Red Talon from wandering off into the woods alone. That's a direct quote from the book. So basically, they see the Shadow Lords as the direct replacement for the Silver Fangs if and or when they do eventually all get senile from all of their inbred disorders, because fuck the Silver Fangs, they suck and we hate them. But yeah, the Shadow Lords, they see the Shadow Lords as, begrudging allies, but also potential replacements of leadership for the Garrow. Moving on to the losers category, otherwise known as Ura in the Garrow tongue. The Bonars. They see the Bonars as Ura, dogs who have abandoned their wolf heritage. The Red Talons believe firmly in the phrase, don't shit where you eat, and they think that's all the Bonars do because they live in shit. Not a whole lot to say about them.
If we may quote the Red Talons, here is a Red Talon Ragabash reciting his times he spent in a Bonar cairn in New York. Rat-tooth Yuff smelled awful like oil and smoke, wore human clothes that reeked of vomit, and spoke in human tongues too much. But when our pack had to venture into the city, he taught me how to act human so I would not put our own pack in danger. And when the Black Spiral Dancers attacked our pack, he saw them first and hurled into battle first. So, Rat-Tooth Yuff is a loyal packmate and a true Giru, and I will defend him as I would any other wolf. They would love the Bonars if they would just cut this homeless shit out. Just stop living on the streets of New York City and San Francisco and just go to the woods and do that. Just quit doing this, and we'll like you.
The city's where all the danger is. You got to go there to get shit done.
Yeah, they think it's the meaning that you have to do that. Like, it's a dirty job and nobody should do it, but of course the Bonars have to do it.
Yeah, somebody has to do the dirty jobs. I mean, it's like in BioShock. Even in Rapture, somebody has to clean the bathrooms.
Yes.
Moving on. Another tribe they don't have a whole lot to talk about, the Children of Gaia, otherwise known as Bigger Losers. They are either peaceniks or one of the hardest motherfuckers on the planet. They are either honorable warriors or human-loving whelps. There is no middle ground when it comes to the Children of Gaia. They either suck or they're really good in a fight.
It's the same with their camps, too. You have the itty-bitty babies that make up the anointed ones in the Children of Gaia. And, of course, that just disgusts the Red Talons because they say, you can't be merciful in nature. A merciful predator starves. A merciful prey would sacrifice itself, and there would be no need for the predator to be a predator. You can't live like this. But then you look at the patient deed, the badass Children of Gaia, and that kind of puts the opinion on its head because you can be a badass, you just choose not to. And we can't decide if that's better or worse.
Exactly. Moving on, they have Fianna, which are the biggest losers. They hate the Fianna. They derive too much pleasure from food, drink, and recreation. They see them as far too human. However, they do sing some of the best howl songs that anyone has ever heard. The book recalls of a Fianna that went to a Red Talon cairn and complained of boredom. So they offered to go hunting with him. He declined. They howled some songs for a while, and then he said he was still bored, so we shifted back into Hamid form, drank poison until he couldn't walk straight, and then fucked off. They don't like the Fianna, and they also never shut the hell up either.
In the morning, they said that the Talons didn't know how to have a good time. Well, it's because the Red Talons don't like this stuff. They like just being wolves in nature, and they say, quit drinking alcohol, quit injecting yourself with heroin needles, quit saying, I'm Irish, like that means anything in America. And they just say, with the Children of Gaia and the Bonars, you could be badass if you just stopped what you were doing. There's no saving the Fianna. They're just losers, and they're always going to be losers in the eyes of the Red Talons.
Well, I mean,
a
lot of people are losers to the Red Talons, it turns out.
Yeah, if you let us kill the Black Spiral Dancers, we would have gotten the job done already. But you want it to be your job, and that's why they're still around.
I mean, you could do us a favor and help, you know.
That's the only way these two tribes will get to work together, if you just get them to kill the Black Spiral together.
Basically. And then the end of the losers category, Stargazers, otherwise known as fucking pussies. They drive the Red Talons absolutely nuts. They spend so much time expending their human minds on stuff that the Talons don't give a shit about. However, they agree that the Weaver is a bigger threat than the Wyrm. And if they manage to work together, they could make incredible progress on knocking the Weaver down a peg. But the Stargazers just decided to slink off with their tail between their legs, hide in Tibet with all of their old ancient manuscripts, instead of teaching all the rest of the Garo all the cool shit they found. And they're just sitting there doing fuck all forever, and it drives the Red Talons nuts.
And all the cool purification gifts that are exclusive to your pack and your pack only that you could have shared with anyone else. But instead you want to sit in Tibet and let this knowledge die with you.
Basically, yes. Moving on. The people they hate the shit out of. Firstly, the Glass Walkers. Very obvious. The polar opposite of the Red Talons. They spend so much time encouraging and protecting humanity, and they see their wolven heritage as inconvenient. Again, they are it could be a fucking compliment to some of the Glasswalkers. They're Weaver rudders more than anything. The Glasswalker loop, and hilariously enough, the book remarks that the Glasswalker lupus falls into Omega posture faster than you can say pathetic house-trained excuse for a predator. I thought that note was kind of funny. That's how lowly they think of the Glasswalkers.
In terms of mechanics, the Children of Gaia, for example, will refuse to work with the Gaia Fenris within most of their camps. Like, an Anointed One will not work with the Gaia Fenris, and some groups of Black Furies won't do that either. But a Red Talon will try to kill a Glasswalker the minute they get the chance to. There is no way in your games that you can have a Red Talon and Glasswalker in the same pack.
Absolutely not. You'd kill them immediately.
That's just not even Whoop's Compromise would do that.
Yep.
Because, sure, you won't kill him, but you're going to mutilate him and probably rip off both of his arms so he can't shoot his guns anymore.
Yep. Or tear out his cybernetic enhancements.
Yeah, to rip them all out.
Yep.
That'll be metal as fuck.
You know what that's called? Bad cable management.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll reboot my werewolf.
Yes. Silver Fangs. They hate them. They've heard a lot of stories about how great the Alpha Tribe was until they met one. Pedigree goes a long way, but the Talons won't follow a leader based on pedigree alone. A lot of the older Fangs in Hispo form could rally Lupus Talons like nothing else. But if the Silver Fangs lose all credibility in the eyes of the Red Talons, the Talons might just up and leave. However, they've talked a whole lot of shit, and some of the Silver Fangs will occasionally bite back and go, "You can't fucking lead for us," you know? The Red Talons aren't good leaders. They just aren't. Because they've refused half of their entire identity. That is their human side. And even they all still have it because Mother Gaia gave it to them. But because they refuse it so greatly, they cannot lead the way the Silver Fangs do. Even though the Silver Fangs are shit leaders.
Because you're sitting there with the Silver Fang. And what's another good one? My house caught fire one time, and it was just like the time your entire forest caught fire, Red Talons, and it was a really scary time, no joke. And of course, the Red Talons would just look at this guy, waiting for him to just drop over dead on his pulpit.
Basically, yes.
We just can't wait for you to die fast enough, because we would rather have the Shadow Lords be leaders than you.
Yeah, pretty much. And we've been over that, so they're waiting patiently for somebody else, competent to take charge.
Did you see this Twilight Zone episode, The Masks? Where it's don't think I did. It's got this moment in it where, of course, it's this grandfather saying, "I'll give you my inheritance if you wear these masks," and he doesn't tell them they're going to cast a curse on him. But half that episode is just that family wearing the masks, just sitting around the grandfather, just waiting for him to kill over dead. And that's the relationship between the Red Talons and the Silver Fangs. We just can't wait for Grandpa to die fast enough.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up. But you know what? The Silver Fangs are shitty leaders, so it doesn't matter.
They deserve their deaths. Don't cry for them.
No. And then finally, the kill category. There's only one in here, and we've talked about them before. The Black Spiral Dancers. The Black Spiral Dancers do what humans do, and worse because they do it deliberately. While humans have their eyes closed, they're completely unaware of Mother Gaia, of the Wyrm, of the Weaver, of all the ills they cause upon the world. The Black Dancers have their eyes wide open and their nose to the wind to hunt and kill everything that Gaia brings. It's rare, however, they do remark that it's rare to find a Talon who isn't tempted to give into the same rage and fall to the Wyrm, which is another issue with the Red Talons. Much like the Wendigo, is that they're so fucking angry at everything that they are constantly tempted to fall to the Wyrm's rage. It's a really precarious position for them.
It is possible for a Red Talon to do that. Earthblood was a bad example because there is no way a Red Talon would turn on a Fianna in the middle of an Indron raid,
Mm-hmm.
but they had their finger on a button because a Red Talon would turn on a Fianna if they believed that the Fianna was a horrible, useless teammate who was better off dead, and then tried to kill the Fianna on their own. And then after doing that, start realizing that the Werewolf Nation would be better without the Fianna in general, and then they start going down the route of corruption. Granted, even though a lot of them are tempted, there is no dedicated Wyrm pack with the Red Talons.
No,
they've all stayed faithful to Gaia.
Yes. Moving on. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's like the temptation is there. Like the gun has one bullet loaded on it, and it's on the table, and you're looking at it, and your hand will occasionally reach for it, but you won't ever put it to your head. It'll just always just sit there, and you'll have your eye on it, but you'll never actually go through with it.
Right. Moving on to the other changeling breeds. First, we have the Ajaba. So they're pretty cool with them. They're very capable warriors. They somehow came back from the brink of extinction. Pretty cool. I'm going to probably rapid fire these because there's quite a few to go over. The Anasasia, the Were-Spiders, Weaver Spawn, kill them on sight. The Bastet, bitches. When they cross paths, usually someone ends up dead. They think they're kind of fucking stupid. However, the Kuka Ikidnu, or Kucha Ekundu of Africa, seem to get along well with the Bastet.
The Kucha Ekundu are Red Talons who mated with African-painted dogs who are and aren't wolves at the same time, and it worked. And now we have African-painted dogs that you can play as.
Yeah, pretty cool. Korax, also cool. Very patient and knowledgeable spirits. Talents aren't really threatened by them because, they're sort of scavengers. They're usually happy to partake in all the Korax's information, but sometimes they talk too goddamn much. The Gural, kill them. It is quoted in the book, The War of Rage was just because the werebears were evil corpse-racing monsters, which, as we discussed in their history, the Red Talons wanted to know how to do the same fucking thing. A lot of Red Talons will fume about the Wyrm bears. Some that are close with the Wendigo and Uktana hear about the healer version of the Gural, and some Red Talons would love to hear that some of them are still around, and others will just kill them on sight if ever there were. They don't know how many are still alive.
They would love to hear if they were still alive, so they can find them, and then they can kill them.
Yes, basically.
And these guys are just cinnamon rolls, just wanting to help people, and you want to massacre them.
Again, another fucking issue with the Red Talons. The Macaulay. They're kind of 50-50 on them. They think that the alligators are worm creatures because they're rival predators and they're reptiles and they smell funny. That's actually in the book. They smell like reptiles, so they smell funny to them. And they look like worm monsters, so they're not cool about the Macaulay. Like, they don't know what to think about them, really. The Naga. They like the Naga, but the Naga don't like them. The Naga were dancers who the Red Talons thought were grossly mistreated and wish that they could make amends with them, but just can't seem to. The Nuisha, they're just fucking annoying. They don't see them as the wise trickster. They see them as another quote from the book, because this book is very quotable. A cowardly pseudo-wolf that makes off with their kills and eats garbage. They play human tricks on the Talons, which they hate because they don't like human tricks. Supposedly, they're Gaia's sense of humor, but they don't trust it because that would mean Gaia has a human sense of humor. So they find the Nuisha annoying, and they say that maybe if the Nuisha learned to play more wolven tricks and teach lessons more directly, then maybe they could see them getting along. The Ratkin. They're fucking bitches. Wolves eat rats. Rats spread disease and are terminally ill-tempered. They should both get along because they both hate humans, and they could possibly learn a lot from each other if they work together, but because wolves kill rats, that's not going to happen. Rokea. Were-sharks? Yeah, like, that'd be kind of neat. I mean, wolves don't go in the water all that much, so if they existed, that'd be cool.
They do have some territory near Alaska, so it would make sense for them to start talking with the Rokia because the Wendigo are already doing that.
I didn't know there were sharks that far north. I thought they liked warm water.
Yeah. They're not supposed to live there, but they will travel over to there because that's where the Wyrmish Indron oil rigs are.
Okay, that makes sense.
So they just go there for operations, do their destruction, and then get out there as soon as possible because the cold water sucks.
Right. Moving on to some others. Firstly, vampires. Talons are not fooled by their tricks. Some vampires can shift into wolves, but they can smell the corpse on them and will tear them to pieces as soon as they can. However, there was a remark about some Talons actually capturing humans and using them as bait to find out which vampires are which, and to find ones that might be posing as wolves. Little interesting note there. Mages. Some of them like harvesting strange flowers and mushrooms, but that can weaken a Cairn if they're done carelessly. Spellcasters are human, therefore careless in their Cairns, so the Red Talons don't like them. And then we have Wraiths. Sometimes the people the Red Talons kill like to stick around with a vengeance, and most Rite Masters have gone on to learn a rite that can repel human ghosts, but not Banes or familiar spirits. They have heard stories about walking corpses, healing wounds, and calling up storms, known as, some zombies that can do that somehow. If one finds the being responsible for its death, it will relentlessly track it down and kill it. Be very wary of wraiths. Human beings are very stubborn, as it turns out. Hunters. Some humans aren't as easy to kill. They wield strange powers that somehow force the Talons back and held them at bay. They carry silver in their weapons, and every Rite Master that they had came to examine them after they killed them and found they are humans that have somehow learned how to use gifts and fetish weapons. Be very careful with them.
Of course, as we know in Hunter the Reckoning, these guys are exceptionally badass humans who are able to pull this off.
Yes. They're damn good at what they do.
And funny story, there is one technocracy convention that the Red Talons like.
Really?
Do you know a little bit about the technocracy? Do you have any idea of who that could be?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, no.
This is going to surprise you. You ready?
What?
The Void Engineers.
Why?
Those are the mages who are obsessed with space. So, funny story. In the I think it was, what was it, like the 1960s?
Yep.
With the Sputnik program.
Sputnik?
The Russians were sending people, I think it was, is it Sputnik or Sputnik?
Sputnik.
A Russian cosmonaut falls from space from his shuttle and crash lands in the Ural Mountains right in the middle of Red Talons territory. The Red Talons go over to this guy and think, oh boy, another human to torture. And they drag him out of his space shuttle, and he's alive. Of course, he's broken, so they drag him out. But then a few Red Talons look at the shuttle and start investigating it, and they're very confused about what they find in it. And they go over to the cosmonaut, and of course they need to get a guy who speaks Russian, so they get the Russian guy in. They start communicating with the cosmonaut, and then the Russian guy says, you'll see this man, he wants to go to space. He wants to go into the moon. And so the Red Talons think, well, humans on the moon. That means they're not on Gaia anymore, which means they're not destroying Gaia anymore. Let's do that. So they begin the Humans to Moon Fund, where they believe that a new way to get rid of all the humans is to send them all to the moon. So they end up letting the cosmonaut heal, and they drag him back to Russia, to civilization, and then throw him back into human civilization, saying, go to the moon and stay there this time.
That's kind of fucking hilarious. I love that.
So this is why they like the Void Engineers so much. It's because they want humanity to live on the moon, and are saying the sooner you do that, Void Engineers, the sooner you can take everyone with you, and the sooner we get the planet to ourselves.
I think that's the most diplomatic solution they can come up with, in all honesty.
So, the only peaceful solution in Werewolf is either all the wolves go to the moon, or all the humans go to the moon.
Quick! Somebody pull up the Tim Curry Command and Conquer Red Alert. Hang on here. I'm gonna go on YouTube. I'm gonna pull it up. Tim Curry space. We just gotta fucking.
You're gonna find the base boosted version?
No, I'm just gonna play the fucking thing real quick.
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space!
I can't help it. I love that thing so fucking much. Space! The one place that hasn't been corrupted by the Wyrm. Space!
Space! So, help out your local Red Talon today and send your neighbor to space.
Yes. Send your local Russian to space.
Yeah. Let's do auspices next.
Yes.
Auspices, we can go through this very quickly. At Ragabash, they are never the pack alpha. And they're more just near the alpha, just the alpha's right-hand man telling the alpha, don't do that. Don't eat those berries. Don't step on that. Don't kill this human yet. We gotta torture him. Don't do this. Don't do that. They're always making sure the alpha doesn't make a stupid decision. And funny enough, they emphasize the new moon aspect of the Red Talons, of the Ragabash, and say that with them being the invisible moon, they're at their strongest during the new moon. And a Red Talon Ragabash might be more dangerous than a Red Talon Arun. Because with some of these gifts are based around stealth, and we'll get into that with the Winter Wolves, you won't even know a Red Talon is behind you until they're right up on you, and by that point, it's already too late.
They literally teleport behind you, nothing personnel, kid.
Yeah, it's that gift that the rat can have. But the Red Talons don't rely on teleportation, they're just that good at stealth.
Oh, okay. They're just fucking built different, even more so than the Silent Striders, I guess.
You have the Theurges, who, in a weird twist of Pokemon, you kill the animal and then talk to its spirit after you eat it. That's what the Red Talons do.
Gotta eat them all.
And there's a fun thing that they do with their fetishes. We typically don't talk about these on the show because we believe you should be creative with the fetishes. And typically, you have a wolf who'll just bound them to a bone or a stick and then just walk around with the bone or stick in the mouth. But, sometimes we don't always have a stick or a bone on hand. So they've discovered a new way of making fetishes. They will take their claws, permanently scar themselves by dragging their claws across their chest or limbs, and then they will stuff the spirit into their scar and make a scar fetish with it.
That's fucking sick, in all honesty.
And when they do that, it will permanently boost one of their attributes or skills.
That's fucking tight. That's cool as hell.
If you want to mid-max in this game, with your stats specifically, get a Red Talon Theurge to start doing that. Because that is a fantastic thing. Like that should give you pause too if you're fighting a Red Talon who's covered in cuts.
Oh yeah. Just fucking run. You're not gonna win that fight.
And the Philodox. These are sometimes an alpha, sometimes not. These tend to be the geniuses who are tacticians. They're planning when they're going to attack the humans, when they're going to kill the humans. They are very smart. They say, we need to let this melt in our mouths, but let's not bite down the humans yet. Because if we act too quickly, we could compromise the Cairn doing this. And the Red Talons didn't get to vote on the litany, but they see some parts of the litany as good laws, but some parts they just completely disregard, like eating human flesh. Sometimes a Red Talon says, fuck it, I'm going to eat this man, because there's no other food around. This will sometimes lead to worm corruption. as we will talk about in the apocalypse scenario. Yeah. And the Galliard. The Galliard is very fun because these are the administrators of play. They have an entire role within their packs and within their cairns, within their seps, where the Galliard will decide when it's playtime, what games will be played, and how long they'll be played for. And it's kind of funny just imagining the Red Talons having so much fun with each other and just being happy and smiling. Because
they get to be wolves
as
for a
bleak
little
as this episode, as bleak as this episode has been, it's very hard to imagine just these guys like acting like dogs and having a fun time.
Well, I mean, yeah, play is a very useful tool in nature in general. I mean, like, raccoons play with each other, crows play with each other. It's a learning tool more than anything, play is. And that's why it's so important to the Red Talons. Even wolves will do it.
And the Owl Rune will acknowledge sometimes that it needs to lose some of its games, because the way that you'll get another wolf who's beneath you to play with you again is that the alpha will need to intentionally lose a game in order to get the beta or the omega to play with them again. Because if they don't do that, the beta or omega, it's not really depression, but it's like this like massive self-esteem loss where they eventually become disenfranchised from the pack and either die or leave.
Yeah, that could be rough for the pack organization, so I want anything like that.
And the Red Talon, Alrune, is 99% of the time the pack alpha. Because the Red Talons love strength. They want a strong, vicious man to be their leaders.
Well,
and
but yeah.
You know all the creepypastas of weird humanoid creatures or skinwalkers attacking and killing people?
Yep.
Or stuff like the Jersey Devil. Those stories were started by Red Talon Alrunes.
Because they were those creatures, I imagine.
Yes, because if a Red Talon Alrune comes after you, that will be the scariest encounter in your game. These are Gaia's chosen killers. They have accepted that as their dharma. And the strongest killer of them all, the auspice, the Alrune, coming after you.
Yeah, that's pants-shittingly terrifying.
And unless you come prepared for that encounter, you will not escape that alive. Like, some of your NPCs or some of your players will die in that fight.
I'm getting very concerned about this mystery character you've added to the werewolf game now.
As of this episode, Kyle has not met Wyrm yet.
No, and I am going to try to avoid doing that at all costs.
We'll have to play like the Dead by Daylight chase music when he appears.
Yeah, basically. I'm going to stop the whole tribe, just like, everyone going to Lupus right now, either speak in the Gaia tongue or do not speak at all.
And it's a weird, like, this is a weird connection I'm saying. Like, you watched a whole bunch of Disney films when you were a kid, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you had the VHS copy of Fun and Fancy Free, kind of like the dissonance that happened when Lockjaw would appear on the screen.
I actually didn't have the VHS coppi. Like, I watched some of it.
Oh, you didn't have that one, huh?
No, isn't it on Disney Plus?
I think so. It was their adaptation of Little Bear Bongo. And of course you have Bongo like dating his girlfriend, and they're just laying around. And all of a sudden in the background, this giant bear with like this massive chin just pops out of the background, just rips a tree in two as part of his introduction. And then just tears up the ground as he starts walking over to find out who this new pipsqueak is supposed to be on his territory.
Correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Fun and Fancy Free also the one where it's like Mickey, Donald, and Goofy living in that big drought, and then Donald Duck goes crazy and tries to kill everybody?
Yes.
Yeah, that scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
You could make fun cartoons like this in the 40s.
Yeah. Ones that fucking traumatize your kids because they're probably going to die in a world war anyway.
You want your crying kid to shut up, we'll just show up on these movies.
Yeah, and then he won't friggin' sleep for a month.
Yeah, he'll finally leave you alone.
This is what they meant when they said, "Oh, hard motherfuckers make good times." Or no, hard times make hard motherfuckers. This is what's going on here.
And now we get to talk about the hardest one of them all.
What's that?
You ready for Griffin?
Oh, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love this guy. This isn't my favorite totem. We'll eventually talk about my favorite totem, but Griffin is up there because I really like Griffin. I really like Griffin, dude.
He's kind of an asshole.
Oh yeah, and he knows it and he doesn't care. So the reason why Griffin is the Red Talon totem is because the Red Talons said that Griffin is the apex predator. He's got the eyes and head of an eagle, he's got the body and claws of a lion, and he's got the behavior of a wolf. So he's the three best aspects of three apex predators rolled into one, meaning that he is the strongest animal that ever existed. And back in the day, before the Order of Reason, nowadays that technocracy, ruined everything, you had griffins who walked the earth and killed a ton of people. And the Red Talons remember the griffins, which is why Griffin with a capital G is their totem. And you don't mess with this guy. Griffin has decreed that there needs to be a human genocide. That is his order. With Griffin, you want me to read off the stats for Griffin?
Go ahead.
So, Griffin is very fun, and you're going to learn a little bit about this guy's personality from just reading these stats. Background cost 4, dude.
Very cheap totem, actually.
Griffin's children can communicate with birds of prey without the use of a gift, and gain 2 dots in glory. If a pack follows him, they gain 3 additional dots in alertness, and other Red Talons will show them respect. The thing is, you can't have any human associates, any human allies, any human kinfolk, any human contacts, and none of your Geru in the pack can be Hamid. Griffin believes in a complete human genocide. That the only way that he is going to get the vengeance he wants, after seeing all of his kin die because of the Order of Reason, or the very proto versions of them with like very, very early mages, is that he needs to see the exact same race, the exact same species that made his kind extinct also go extinct. Griffin wants revenge. He wants to see humanity destroyed. And he is this dark messiah when it comes to the Red Talons. There are tribes of Geru who love their totems. The Children of Gaia love Unicorn. The Black Furies love Pegasus. You will find nobody saying anything bad about Griffin within the Red Talons because they universally love Griffin. There's like I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but Red Talons will fall to their knees and cry tears of joy upon seeing Griffin descend from the sky. They see him the same way that Christians would see Jesus during the Second Coming. They fanatically love Griffin, and they are also terrified of him. Because the minute you go against Griffin's decree, Griffin will not hesitate to kill you for your betrayal. Any and all crimes committed against Griffin, the only punishment for them is death. You don't ever cross Griffin. And if your pack offends the Red Talons to the point where they start sending jagglings of Griffin after you, you are a dead man walking because Griffin will never stop for the entirety of his existence to kill you if that happens. There's a story in 2nd edition where the Galliard, who's telling the story about all the different totems, infiltrated a Red Talon sept and managed to pass off as a lupus. But Griffin the Totem summoned himself out of the Umbra and attacked this guy because he knew instinctively that he was Hamid and almost killed him, and this guy ran for his life after Griffin attacked him. You don't mess with Griffin, dude. This guy is so badass and so cruel, and I love it. It's such a metal totem.
He's a dickhead.
Oh yeah, he's an absolute dickhead, but it's the same reason why I like the Emperor of Mankind so much from Warhammer 40k. Because he's an asshole, But it's that ego to him and just the badassery to him that makes you forget about the assholishness.
You and I think very differently when it comes to, like, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm like, for me, that'd be a really hard sell of a totem.
Sigma male mentality.
We pick a pack alpha and then Griffin is the Sigma.
If you don't even, alpha doesn't even compare to Griffin.
Absolutely not.
And Griffin's a badass dude. And you know what's even more badass about this guy?
What's that?
He took in Lion, the White Howlers totem. After the White Howlers collapsed, he made Lion part of his brood.
Really?
He did not need to do that, but he did that, and that's, dude, I can't hate Griffin because he did that.
I mean, he shows some kind of compassion, so that's kind of neat.
And typically, Lion with a capital L, that is the pack totem of most of the Kucha Ikundu, the African painted dog wolves. And do you want me to read off Lion stats?
Yes, let's see it.
Because I typed in WTA Lion and it's giving me women's tennis.
Well, I've got it here too. If you want me to chuck you a link real quick,
I got it.
Okay.
This guy is expensive as shit, by the way.
Yeah, back.
In W20.
Yeah.
But in second edition, he's okay. So, funny thing too, Silverfangs will also follow this guy, namely because of just his whole kingly aura. But I digress.
Mm-hmm.
Individually, he will give you 1 honor renown, and packs. Oh, damn, that's a voice crack.
It's all good. It happens.
And lion packs will gain +3 to animal kin, and can draw upon 4 extra points of willpower per story. And all rolls to impress elders are made at difficulty -1, because, well, the whole rich cultural history behind Lion. The Bane. Lion's children must not destroy anyone who would hunt wild animals for pleasure. Oh, sorry, I read that the other way around. Lion's children must kill anyone who would hunt wild animals for pleasure. You must kill poachers the minute you come across one.
That makes sense. You can do that.
Yeah. And Lion seems like a pretty stand-up guy, right?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with this guy.
Compared to Griffin.
Next up, here's another Sigma male for you. Mammoth. As in the woolly mammoth. Dog, imagine just having this as your totem, just going into battle and then summoning this guy, and you have this 15-foot tall woolly mammoth behind you.
It scared the shit out of everybody.
It's awesome. It details in Storyteller Guide 2 or 3, I think, where they discuss summoning mammoth. And they say that will turn the tide of battle because all of a sudden you've got this ghostly woolly mammoth charging into battle, knocking tanks over as it charges into battle.
That's pretty tight, not gonna lie.
And even though he's not a predator animal, the Red Talons still like him because they liked woolly mammoths back in the Ice Age. They were fans of the woolly mammoth. They were very delicious, and they played the hunting game very well, because this was one of the few animals that gave the Red Talons trouble when it came to hunting them. And they also heard that a few of the Croton followed mammoth back when the Croton were alive, but there's no way to really check that fact anymore. And the Uktena say they did that, but at the same time, the Uktena, if you take their word at face value, you're an idiot for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So now we get to go into Mammoth's stats. And this guy is expensive as hell because if I'm remembering off the back, he has... Alright, never mind. That was a different version of Mammoth I was reading. No, never mind. This guy's cheap.
Yep.
Background cost 5. Each of Mammoth's children gains +2 to Enigmas, which is great. The pack also gains 2 dice to Strength. All of your Strength rolls get 2 extra dice. That might as well just be 2 extra pips. Once they have the power to summon... They also get the power to summon a Mammoth in the Umbra. And... Let's see what else is on here. The Dark Eye of the Apocalypse sets Mammoth's gaze. Those who follow him sense panic and despair, and gain 2 extra points of rage and 1 extra point of gnosis, which is very good.
Yes.
And now what you gotta do, Mammoth now asks his charges for one and only thing: attempt to save his ascent into destruction. Just keep praying to him, keep worshiping Mammoth, keep following him, because the minute he loses all of his followers, he's gone.
Yeah.
You must have a Shabbos dedicated to Mammoth if you follow him.
Yeah, if you have a Theurge, a Red Talon Theurge that follows Mammoth, you have to just keep that rolling as long as possible, basically.
Granted, they don't really cook, clean, or answer the phone or drive a car, so yeah, I can do Shabbos pretty well.
Yeah.
Just think about you out planted in and you putting that in your application.
Oh, what? That I'm a shamus that I can't work on Shabbos?
That you follow Shabbos. I mean, that's a guaranteed day off right there.
That's true. But yeah. You know what? I'm also not a slacker either. Well, that's not true. I'm a total slacker. Excellent idea. Maybe I like the way you think.
Yeah, let's do it. I give you all your bad ideas.
Yes, absolutely. I drink to that.
You ready for Sphinx?
Yes, tell us about Sphinx.
This was surprising because with all the legends of Sphinx, I did not put that as a Red Talon totem. But no, you read Oedipus Rex, and Sphinx killed a shitload of people in Oedipus Rex, so I guess it checks out. And I guess every now and then a Red Talon wants to be smart. I mean, being smart's a good thing. Sometimes you want to be smart.
Yes.
And I think they go with both aspects of Sphinx, really.
What do you mean?
There's a Sphinx. I'm getting tongue twister. The Sphinx of Respect, who is the Gyno Sphinx, and then the Sphinx of War, who's the Andro Sphinx, the male and female faces of the totem.
Yeah.
So I think they follow both.
It doesn't say anything otherwise to that, as far as my knowledge.
Yeah, and I've got the book in my hand too. I don't think they specify between either one. We'll breed both.
All right.
Sphinx of Respect. Background cost of 6. In exchange for following her, Sphinx will give you 3 points to Enigmas. You will also gain 1 point to your Wits. And all difficulty involving puzzles are reduced by 2. Geru following this totem also gain 1 extra point of Wisdom every time they gain some Wisdom Renown. The ban is that followers of Sphinx may never refuse a riddle contest, and may gain or lose up to 20 honor, depending on the challenge. You better be pretty smart as a player if you're going to follow that totem.
Jesus.
And now for the expensive as hell Sphinx of War, with a background cost of 8.
Yeah.
Individually, children of Sphinx may cross the gauntlet into the Dark Umbra at the setting of the sun. I don't think that really requires a roll. The difficulty of the mind or emotion affecting powers. Okay. No, there's no roll. You can just go into the Dark Umbra at sunset.
Yep. It's just like, nighttime, let's go kill some shit.
And the difficulty of mind or emotion affecting powers used by dead or undead is increased by 2 against you. So it's the reverse of Bacchus. It makes it harder for Venture to dominate you.
Yes.
And pack traits once per lunar year. Pack follows Sphinx. The pack may call upon their totem to seize one of the already defeated worm-tainted foes. That enemy is spirited away to Sphinx's Umber Realm, where it will never return.
What the fuck?
Behold, you get dragged into the Shadow Realm.
Yeah, you could quite literally banish Jimbo to the Shadow Realm if somebody pisses you off as a Red Talon following the Sphinx of War.
You save that for your most hated enemy.
Or for just like, or whatever the final boss is of your game. Just use that.
Doug, I'm thinking for a game now. If you found a guy who had one of these, who followed Sphinx of War and used that on Malkav.
Oh, that'd be fucking sick. Well, now that you mention
now
it,
you're rethinking. Now you're rethinking your relationship with the Red Talons.
Yeah, a little bit.
The ban. Children of Sphinx must return dead creatures to the land that they died from. Period. They're not required to destroy them or defeat them, but they must return the dead back to where they belong.
Yeah, so
we will give you an open casket funeral. That will be the ban.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. and we will send you back to your home in Nebraska. We'll dump you off on the side of the road the minute that we're in the city limits, and then we'll leave.
Oh, well, at least they returned you home.
And last one is their former totem, Wolf of the Woods. Back when this tribe first started, Wolf of the Woods was their totem.
Mm-hmm.
And Wolf of the Woods is kind of like your classic wolf. He's what every wolf will aspire to be. He's the ideal wolf. And he changes. Because the current Wolf of the Woods is not the same Wolf of the Woods of way back then. About every, we'll say, don't give an exact year because Red Talons don't count. We'll say 100 years, Wolf of the Woods will retire, and then a new wolf who is in the Umbra, who has recently died, that a lot of wolves respect, will become the new Wolf of the Woods, and then it will just keep passing the torch down. He's a legacy character.
Right.
And looking at old Wolf of the Woods, Wolf of the Woods, pulling him up. And besides that, it's kind of like a wild card as to what he's like, because it's like describing the Smiling Lord from Wraith of the Oblivion, because so many people have been the Smiling Lord that you can't really pin it down as to what the Smiling Lord is supposed to be anymore.
Right.
And he is pretty sad all the time because, not as many trees around.
Well, yeah, it says that old wolf of the woods is a sad spirit because he only exists as long as wolves roam the face of Gaia.
Yeah, he's your depressed grandpa.
Yeah, he is.
Individually, that's a lot of stuff. Difficulty 6, background cost 6. Each pack member gains 3 points of temporary honor when Old Wolf of the Woods is chosen as their pack totem. That's good. Old Wolf also grants the ability for a pack to call upon his knowledge. Each pack member may call upon Ancestors 5 once per story.
What the fuck?
But may not access the abilities that are forbidden to lupus characters. Finally, werewolves who follow Old Wolf of the Woods have an easier time stepping sideways, thank you, as all difficulties related to piercing the gauntlet are reduced by 1. This looks great, dude.
Yeah,
this
looks
great.
Jesus.
It's nothing directly related to attributes or roles, but besides the gauntlet, but that's all really good stuff to have.
Ancestors 5 once per story. That's fucking busted.
And if you follow him as a pack, that means that the Red Talons will give you respect.
Yeah.
And the Old Wolf of the Woods does not hate Hamid or Metascaru, but he won't accept them as their children. Only Lupus may follow Old Wolf of the Woods.
Oh, so Grim could follow him.
Yeah. And everyone else can get the hell out.
Yeah. But that's still a fucking wildly powerful totem.
And there was one more that we skipped over for time, Wolverine. All you really need to know about Wolverine is that he helps you kill stuff better.
Makes sense.
And basically, that's it. Yeah, and he's pissed all the time.
Well, yeah, it's Wolverine.
Let's do camps.
Okay.
But we start with don't say the dying cubs yet. We need to introduce the Lodge of the Predator Kings first.
Oh, no. I'm leaving that to the end. Okay, so moving on to camps, we're going to start with Lodge of the Predator King. So a lot of rumors...
I love these guys.
A lot of rumors about the Red Talons start here because they just want to see every human dead. They say the time for human redemption has long passed, and thusly are big targets for hunters. They have basically Garo jihadists. And they're quoted to say, they're basically, if they die serving Griffin's true bidding, then they'll be rewarded in another life. They really, really want another Impergium. Any chance to kill a human, they will take it. They do not care.
And they will die, and they will be given their 77 virgin olive oils upon death.
They live, they die, they live again. What a day, what a lovely day.
You know what they were kind of similar to when you say they're like jihadists?
Who's that?
The other jihadist in this game, the Sabbat.
I thought that's Sabatu Hakim.
No, they spell jihad with a Y with the Sabbat.
Oh, weird. Okay.
We kill people in the honor of Cain. That's what they do.
That makes sense, yeah. All right.
This is really fun. I really love these guys. You can hear the Doom music playing in the back of your head when you read the Lodge of the Predator Kings.
More or less, yeah. Just fucking Doomslayer all the way. Like, if you want to play just like an anti-human campaign, you play a fucking Red Talon or Rune who is a Lodge of the Predator King.
You just have the Doom soundtrack playing the entire game.
Okay, moving on. We have Warders of the Lands. They are as close to moderate as the Red Talons get. They won't hesitate to kill a human if necessary, but they won't go out of their way to do so. They don't see humans. They fall into one of two different categories, the Warders. They either don't see the humans as a mistake of Gaia, or they just realize they don't have the resources to kill every single human. Most tribes fall into this camp on a philosophical level, but, opinions differ between the different warders. As it's quoted in the book, no wolf can fell a tree. We must instead find a way around it. So, okay, we can't kill all of the humans, so why don't we just kill a lot of them if we have to, is where we're at.
Well, why don't we collaborate with the Void Engineers and send them to space?
Basically, this next one's an odd one. I actually forgot to write down this one until Johnny brought it up, and I wrote it down real quick, so correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. The Winter Wolves. So it's rumored much of the tribe met in Alaska, and they really wanted to ramp up the war with humanity, and in doing so formed the Winter Council. They specifically are made to train werewolves from their first change to hate humans. They don't let them interact with humans. They don't have any human kinfolk. They will not let them communicate with humans. The only thing they will teach them about humans is how best to kill them. And because of this very cultish behavior around their training, they are very hard to come by. The only major pressing question is, who are they learning all of this from exactly? The book doesn't answer that.
There are two things I'm going to say about this, guys. First of all, you remember when we were doing the Shadow Lords episode and we brought up the Niktuku?
Oh, yeah.
This is the Guru Nation version of the Niktuku.
Yeah.
In case anyone listening to this does not know what we're talking about, the Niktuku are Nosferatu vampires trained by the antediluvian Absimiliard, the guy who started the Nosferatu, to kill every vampire on the planet, specifically the Nosferatu, and then once all the Nosferatu are dead, every other vampire after that.
Yes.
And this is essentially the same, but it's with humans instead.
The Winter Wolves are the TX of the Garrow.
If you want to crank up the Lodge of the Predator Kings, you play a Winter Wolf.
Exactly.
And there will be no way a Hamad can interact with that. And you want to know where they get their names from?
Where is that? Well, not just because
Winter Wolf Syndrome. So there's a condition of wolves where the minute it's winter and it's mating season, it's time to impregnate all the women. All the male wolves will get very angry and will sound like this.
I think they did a movie about that, didn't they?
And there'll be every conversation. There's another one I like right after this one.
They did a movie
here's
called The Gray that was a lot like that, I think. That was like a guy trying to survive that.
I have an even better soundbite for you.
Oh, yeah? It's just fucking scary, dude.
Now you know what it's like to talk with a Red Talon.
Yes.
See why nobody goes up to these guys
all the fucking time. Now the exact opposite of the Winter Wolves, the Whelps Compromise. No Talon will ever self-identify as a member of the Whelps Compromise because it's considered an insult, basically. They are the anti-extinction faction of the Red Talons. They seem to find redeeming values in humanity, and they feel like humans are worth keeping around. They'll still kill humans that defile the mother, as is their job. But the book, this is an interesting quote that the narrator talked about when he met an Australian member of the Whelps Compromise. And I'm going to do it in my shitty Australian accent. I apologize to our friend Gary if he listens to this.
We should have just called him to do a soundbite for this.
Yeah, look, like humans can learn. It just takes them some time. And a lot of what's wrong with him, in cities especially, you can blame on the bloodsuckers. Kill off the parasites, the banes, and the other worm nastiness hanging over the humans' heads, and they'll catch on. It's a lot of work, yeah, but not any more than killing all the humans off, right? If you can decipher that, basically, it's not the humans' fault that they're as fucked up as they are. It is all the worm. And if you kill all the worm shit, they'll learn, is what he's going for, excuse me.
It's very similar to the Secret Hoop with the Wendigo.
Yes. So they are more progressive as far as the Red Talons go. If you have a Ragabash, more than likely you'll wind up being a Welp's Compromise at some point.
And if you have a Red Talon in your party, more than likely he is a Welp's Compromise.
Yes.
Because you are going to have to work very hard with your storyteller in order to get any of these other camps working with you, especially this last one.
This next one isn't as much a camp as it is a secret society with entirely separate rites and practices. These are the Dying Cubs. They believe that they can use the pain of a human to feed the earth. And they learn many of their gifts from pain spirits, comprised of mostly younger Garrow who are very, very dangerous. They will do whatever it takes to drag out a human's suffering as long as possible. There's a quote from an anonymous dying cub that the narrator met somewhere in North America, I think actually in Alaska, and I'm going to read this verbatim. The last human who ventured here after dark took 3 nights to die. We used sticks, sharp rocks, thorns, teeth, claws, urine, fire, and finally his own jewelry. I'm not sure what finally killed him, but when he died, I heard the land sigh with satisfaction. The dying cubs use the pain and suffering of humans and potentially other Garrow to fuel the growth of the earth.
This is such a fun.
If you want eco-terrorism, play a dying cub.
If you want to put the terror in terrorism, these are the world eaters from 40K made into werewolves.
Yes, they are terrifying.
With a little bit of Emperor's Children mixed in.
Yes.
Right. You know it's a bad sign, like anytime you see a faction with the word children in it.
Yeah, well, not just that. This is dying cubs. Well, I mean, no, the children of Gaia, they're just like they've got we'll get to the children of Gaia later.
Yeah, we'll get to them.
Okay. So we still have gifts and rites to do. Is there anything else on your end you need done?
So notice that 3 of those camps were secret societies.
Yes.
The Welp's Compromise and the Winter Wolves are open secrets, and the Dying Cups are closed secret. Notice that none of them have ever gone full Wyrm.
No, they haven't, even though they probably should have by some point.
And of course, the book will also mention, I'm looking at other pages over here. I'm starting at, what page is this? Page 56. And it will talk about Red Talons around the world. Really, you can play a Red Talon from anywhere, dude.
Yeah.
And if you want to do any sort of character building, you can be any camp, really, because none of these camps are really isolated to one part of the world. And your name, it's typically a noun and a verb, or just 2 nouns put together.
Yeah, it's like Bane Slasher, or fucking, or Eye Taker, something like that.
Or Storm Eye. Let's talk about Storm Eye for a minute before we go into gifts and rights.
Do you have a graphic of Storm Eye for me to put on the screen?
I have Storm Eye because for whatever reason, she is the poster child of the Red Talons. And her story is pretty interesting. So she is a Philodox. Here she is. She's got the big eye that's popping out of her head.
Yeah, she's freaky looking.
Yeah. It's definitely in wife material, like, right, Tyler?
If I was wearing some blindfolds, then maybe.
And her whole story is that it shows what happens when a Philodox loses respect and then gains it back. Because she was like this know-it-all who lost her brother in a fight with the Wyrm. And then she comes back and she talks about fights the bear was her brother. and she ends up falling. I'm really simple about finding the story. Check out Lazarov Stygia's video on the Red Talons, by the way. He talks about more characters than I do. And essentially what happens is that Fights the Bear ends up getting Geralt, where he's revived from the dead by the Wyrm. And then her great achievement is that she fights her wormified dead brother fist to fist and succeeds. And after doing that, immediately redeems herself as a Feldox for doing that. So I think the reason why she's the poster child is because it shows that these guys value strength, and more strength. If you want to get a voice in the Red Talons, you need to be physically strong.
Yes.
That's what these guys like. Klingon politics.
Then a what?
Klingon politics from Star Trek.
Yeah, basically.
If you don't like your boss, just kill him.
Exactly. Don't vote him out, dipshit. Kill him.
Yeah. And because if he dies, he wasn't that good of a boss to begin with, and you get his job.
The way I see it, Eddie, if he dies, he dies.
And now we can do the gifts and the rites.
All right, starting off with gifts. I picked 3 of my favorites that I was looking up. First, starting off with Red Talon rank 1. This one is called Wolf at the Door. Some humans can't just be splattered all over the nearest tree. What the fuck are you laughing at?
I love this one, dude, because it's scary as hell.
I know. Some of them have to be taught a lesson and left alive. For whatever reason, however, the Red Talons know how to make the message stick. This gift induces a terrible dread of and respect for the forest, and it makes a human target afraid to tamper with it in any way. Any predator spirit can teach this gift. System. The Gyro must make eye contact with the target, but he can be in any form when he does so. The player then rolls Charisma and Primal Urge of the difficulty versus the target's willpower. The effect lasts for 1 day per success. During this time, the human must roll willpower to leave his home, and he may not go near anything resembling a forest without spending a willpower point. If the human does leave his home and he is shaky and fearful until he returns, and his player loses 2 dice from all mental and social dice pools. This gift functions on kinfolk, mages, ghouls, and other supernatural homins, but the difficulty increases by 2 to a maximum of 10. You could basically scare somebody into being a recluse.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of hilarious. Like any gift that isn't directly about murdering somebody or restoring Gaia is about scaring the shit out of people.
It's so fun, dude. It's just how scary, what a scary motherfucker you can be with these
exactly. These like if you want to put the terrorism in eco-terrorism, play a Red Talon. Moving on, this one I thought was really interesting because I grew up watching The Jungle Book, and I thought that this was a really interesting note about them because of how much they hate humans. This is a rank 3 Red Talon gift called Hurting the Infant Ape. Perhaps the most unpopular gift in the entire tribe, this gift is hidden by Whelp's Compromise, although a few warders of the land use it in more experimental ways. It turns a human child of no older than 10 years old into a creature of the wild unable to set foot in a city. Some suggest this gift is responsible for myths such as Romulus and Remus or the tale of Mowgli. Whelp's Compromise camp members use this to show that humans themselves can exist in harmony with Gaia. It is the city that is evil and needs to be destroyed. System. The gift can only be used on a human child of no more than 10 years. The player spends 3 Gnosis and rolls Charisma and Primal Urge. The difficulty is the child's age. Any child less than a year old automatically is barred from setting foot in a city for the rest of their life. For children aged 1 and up, the number of successes rolled becomes the number of decades that pass before they can re-enter a city. If they do so before then, they suffer incapacitating cramps, refuse to eat, and stay immobile until removed from the city. Since this gift only works on those too small to fend for themselves, few who use it simply abandon their charges. After all, a dead human child in the wild isn't the example the Whelp's Compromise wants to make. This is taught by a wolf or ape spirit. So basically, you could just stop somebody from going to the city. You can prevent people from becoming chronic New Yorkers.
And you can start your own Jungle Book or Tarzan story off of this.
Yes. I just thought it was interesting that this was more a Welp's Compromise gift, but the fact that the Warders of the Land also started to use it, I just really think it's interesting that that they have a gift that automatically gives them a different way of doing things, given how focused the Red Talons are on killing the shit out of humans. And I always like to...
It's fun.
What's up?
It's fun imagining like the Pied Piper, where instead of a man playing a pipe that lures animals, it's wolves doing that with a human.
Yep. And this last one, I always pick a rank 5 gift, but this one stuck out to me because of its name. As we know, Dionysus, otherwise known as Bacchus, is the god of wine and revelry. This is a Red Talon rank 5 gift, the Curse of Dionysus. The Garrow may transform any human or Garrow into a normal wolf. Garrow will stay in this form for the duration of the scene. Against humans, this effect is permanent. This gift is taught by a wolf spirit. So the system, the Garrow spends 1 Gnosis point and then rolls Gnosis against a difficulty of the opponent's willpower. You can just turn somebody into a fucking wolf. Just permanently. But I wanted to ask you, because maybe you know about this more. Why is this called the Curse of Dionysus?
See, Greek mythology.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a little myth involving Dionysus doing that.
So, and Bacchus is now our totem.
Yep.
But we can't learn it because we're not Red Talons.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you remember the story of King Lycan?
I do not actually.
That's where we end up getting this from. Like, some stories it's Dionysus, some stories it's Zeus, but it's essentially this asshole king, where his punishment for being a terrible king is that he's turned into a wolf, and that is what starts the modern day European legend of the werewolf.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so that makes more sense now. I wanted to bring that up just because I knew you might know a thing or two about it. Okay, moving on from that, we have our rites.
Wait, hold a minute. Let me give 2 gifts of my own.
Oh, do you? What do you got?
Yeah, I'll be very quick about this one.
Mm-hmm.
Rank 4, Avalanche. Guess what this does?
It makes a fucking avalanche.
Or a mudslide, or a landslide. It'll just cause Earth to fall and kill all the people that you hate.
Yep, it's like fuck you, landslide.
And the veil is kept in place. There's nothing indicating that it was you.
Yep. It's like a fucking...
The Garou spends...
Go ahead.
One point of Gnosis, and then rolls Manipulation and Survival, difficulty determined by the storyteller. The more successes, the more powerful the landslide. On a botch, the Garou is caught in the avalanche.
Oh, shit. I can imagine a Red Talon walking around all the expensive hillside homes in LA, just like, you know what? Fuck them houses. Landslide.
Yeah, that's how you do it. You just don't eat the rich, just wait for their homes to disappear in the next earthquake.
Exactly. It's going to be hilarious. All right. And your other gift.
And see, the other gift, I'm looking for it on this one. It's Lodge of the Predator Kings. I think it's called, Offering the Slain. I gotta talk about the Lodge of the Predator Kings, because this is my favorite camp in the game. Human corpses are problematic. They don't burn well. The litany prohibits eating them. And if other humans find them, they tend to get offended and search the area thoroughly. Burning them isn't always an option because humans, being the curious little apes that they are, manage to eventually dig up whatever's in an area and find the body. The Predator Kings are certain... The Predator Kings certainly aren't willing to stop killing humans just because disposing dead bodies is a problem, hence this gift. With a touch, a Red Talon can cause dead flesh to decay and crumble into dust in seconds, giving it up as an offering to Gaia, a spirit of decay or decomposition. A Wyrm gift, dude, teaches this gift.
What the fuck?
The player spends 1 point of Gnosis and 1 Gnosis roll later, difficulty 6. Typically harder if you're doing this with a Fomori or other worm creature. For each success, the Garou may decompose 1 human-sized body. Slain Metaskaru can use a slain Metaskaru body counts as 2 bodies, so harder roll. The werewolf may use this gift multiple times in a scene to dispose numerous corpses, but each use requires another point of gnosis in a new roll. You remember when we were playing Vampire, there's an ability in Obtenebration, the La Sombra, that let you do the exact same thing?
Yeah, just let you disintegrate somebody.
And behold, this is so convenient to have because now you can just murder with abandon. You can just, if you got hate in your heart, let that hate out.
It's like that it's like that gif of Dr. Manhattan disintegrating somebody, and it's just lick my balls.
There's also a fun fetish that they have that does the exact same thing. It takes a lot of gnosis to make it, but essentially it's a mouthful of sand that a Garo just has to walk around with sand in his mouth all day, and then just walks over to a dead body and then spits the sand on it, and then the sand instantly dissolves all the flesh, muscle, and organs off the body and leaves a skeleton behind.
It's like lie in that point. Basically, you just throw it on there and it dissolves. It's pocket sand.
And then you can take the bones and break them open, eat the marrow in it, and then use the bones to make more fetishes.
Yes.
And the gift will solve itself.
Yeah, works pretty great.
And now for the rites.
Okay, rites time. So I picked 3 rites because there's quite a few, so I just picked 3 of them.
Is one of them feeding the land?
You're goddamn right it is. Feeding the land. So the rite is the province of the Dying Cubs Camp. It allows the Garo to use the pain of a dying human, or Garo in theory, to feed and heal the land. The dying cubs cannot say where they learned this rite. Go figure.
Oh, they can't say the one.
Every sept that it knows it seems to have learned it from a visiting Talon, but no one can trace the rite back to its origin. The Rite Master and any other Garo that participate bind and torture the victim for as long as they wish. The longer the victim remains alive and in pain, the more potent the rite. The Garo may use any means of inflicting pain they wish, and may even heal the victim to prolong his agony, provided the victim always suffers from one health level of damage. If the victim is ever fully healed, the rite fails. When the victim can bear no more and finally expires, the Rite Master spills the victim's blood on the ground to replenish the land. Wyrm taint is burned away, and even the touch of the Weaver weakens somewhat. System. Any characters involved in this rite lose 1 point of temporary honor for torturing a helpless victim. The Dying Cubs don't usually care. Any player whose character participates in the torture of the victim must roll wits and intimidation at a difficulty of the victim's willpower in an extended, resisted test against the victim's willpower, difficulty 8. Each turn, if the torturer has more successes than the victim does, the victim loses a temporary willpower point. If the torturer and the victim are even, or if the victim has more successes, the victim does not lose willpower. The storyteller must decide based on what kind of torture is being employed, how often the victim takes damage. The torturers can keep building the rite until the victim runs out of willpower and health levels. When the torturers have extracted all that they can from the victim, they either run out of willpower or die. The Rite Master rolls Wits and Rituals, difficulty 7, for a 20-foot radius per point of willpower and health levels taken from the victim. The area is cleansed of Wyrm taint, as if the rite of cleansing had been performed. Also, the gauntlet in that area drops by 2, no lower than 3 for 1 full month. This is a Dying Cubs rite. You torture somebody to rejuvenate the land. Why?
They died for a good cause. They died for a good cause, Kyle. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, sure, bro. Yeah, you fucking...
This is why I tell you that Gaia is not the hero of the story.
And you also wonder why wraiths torture you relentlessly when you do this shit to them.
Yes, just it's have you ever seen or heard the movie Martyrs?
I have not, no.
That is a movie about a Canadian torture ring that kidnaps girls and tortures them with the intention of having somebody experience a near-death experience so vivid and so transcendent that they see heaven and come back and tell everybody what heaven looks like.
Did it work?
And if you want to see a movie where the gore is genuinely difficult to watch, because that movie ends with a flaying.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, like that movie score is absolutely nasty. But yeah,
It's
if you
worse
want
than
to
the fucking
reenact all of the
Serbian
fun,
film. Jesus.
if you want to reenact Serbian film Hostel and Martyrs, you use this gift.
Yeah.
And it will
Holy
be
shit.
the nastiest. It'll be the nastiest thing you do at your table with your players.
Yeah, well, everybody will just like have to take a shot of whiskey and then have a shower after that. I'd feel gross after playing that.
If you can play that right out the way it's meant to be, you can play Wraith the Oblivion after doing that.
Yes.
Because the way that Wraith encourages you to play the game, if you can stomach that, you can stomach Wraith.
Oh, yeah. Okay, moving on from that is the Rite of False Justice. This is a level 4 rite. So,
yes, this is great.
Red Talon lore holds that since the tribe never received a vote on the litany's tenets, they are not bound by them. While the tribe follows the litany for the most part, sometimes a Talon is forced to act against the litany in order to follow their calling as a true predator. The Red Talons recognize that the other tribes may punish the Talon for their transgression, but have advised a means to remove the stigma from them. This rite is only performed if the Rite Master and the Sept leaders feel that another tribe has unjustly subjected a Talon to a punishment rite, such as ostracism, Voice of the Jackal, or Stone of Scorn. The Rite of False Justice cannot disrupt a rite that also confers a death sentence, such as the Hunt or Gaia's Vengeful Teeth, though the tribe may physically protect a Talon whom they feel is being persecuted by such a sentence. The Rite of False...
I pause you?
Go ahead.
The Hunt is a blood hunt from Vampire the Masquerade. That's very self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm.
What Gaia's Vengeful Teeth does is it forbids you from stepping sideways.
Really?
You just can't step sideways. You just can't enter the Umbra through any means if you have that.
That's fucked up.
So with this rite being able to remove game-destroying debuffs like that.
Oh yeah, so don't fuck around. Or you can fuck around if you're a Red Talon, because they can help.
Yeah. The Red Talons are this goes and shows they're Gaia's favorite.
Yeah, fucking... Anyway, so the Rite of False Justice is always performed on the half moon. The Rite Master calls the punished Garrow before them and asks them to describe in what capacity they were serving Gaia when they broke the litany. If the Garrow's answer satisfies the Rite Master, they howl to the Philodox moon to lift the stigma from the supplicant, as they were serving their true nature, not the false laws when they were transgressed. The Talon is then freed from any punishment rite that they currently suffers from and is usually granted a measure of renown for honesty and bravery. System. The Rite Master hears the supplicant's case as described above. If the Rite Master judges the Talon worthy of their suffering, no further penalty is incurred. If the Rite Master feels the Talon has been wrongly judged, the player rolls wits and rituals, difficulty of the the level of the punishment rite under which the target currently suffers, plus 5. Success cancels the mystical effects, such as altered voice granted by Voice of the Jackal, of any previously performed punishment rite on the supplicant. Any renown reimbursed or awarded is up to the storyteller. You just ignore a punishment rite imbued upon you if you think you didn't break the litany.
If the Black Fury crone has caused your penis to shrink down to 2 measly inches, you can just go over to the Red Talons and get it right back to full 6 inches.
Oh, fantastic. I just need to walk around the loop as far in a couple of days. I could do that.
See, Tyler, why do you hate the Red Talons so much? They're great people.
Well, it's just I don't know how to have fun is all. They like to judge me for all my hobbies. Fine. I like hunting too. I'm actually a pretty damn good hunter. You didn't believe me,
and
but I did.
With all the non-human stuff that the Red Talons do, they do hold court.
Yeah, seems they do.
That's the one thing they do. They have people's court, and that's it.
All right, this next one is a long one. It's a really long one.
Is it?
But it's the
Rite of Gaia's Rebirth?
That's goddamn right. It is.
Yeah.
Okay. This extremely powerful rite has only recently been rediscovered and is currently known to only one sept of Red Talons. Gaia's Rebirth allows the Rite Master to sacrifice their own gnosis and, if necessary, their own life to reclaim Gaia's pure form from human defilement. The form such as corruption does not matter. The rite would work just as well as destroying a path through a state park as it would level a building in a major city. The end result is the same. The land returns to the state it would be had humans never seen it. Trees push their way through concrete, cars are covered and crushed by vines and overgrown with moss, although any organic matter, such as corpses, is consumed at the normal rate. Performing this rite is complex. It requires a precise sense of timing, and the rite master must be guided by nothing but instinct. If they begin the rite even 1 minute early or too late, the rite will fail, but the energies released may well destroy them. Gaia's rebirth can only be performed on the last night of the waning crescent moon, the night before the start of the Ragabash cycle. The climax of the rite must occur between the setting of the moon and rising of the sun, and the rite must be performed at the site to be purified, meaning a Red Talon cannot perform the rite outside city limits and expect the city itself to be consumed. This rite requires a special moot, attended by no fewer than 6 Garrow. The rite master plus 1 werewolf of each auspice. The moot begins with howls to any totem spirits in the area, a Cairn totem if the rite is performed at a Cairn, the totems of any packs present, and the tribe totems of all Garrow present. In addition to an elaborate howl to Gaia herself. The rite master must walk or run in a circle around the center of the area to be cleansed, howling to Gaia to awaken the spirits of the land to reclaim it. She gives herself, this can be physical, in which case she gives of herself, This can be physical, in which case she bleeds onto the ground, or spiritual, in which case she simply howls and gives up part of her own spirit. In either case, if the rite is performed correctly, the plant life in the area quickly overtakes any human development and restores Gaia to true order. System. The player must first roll Perception and Primal Urge with a difficulty of 9 to be sure of the correct timing for the rite. The storyteller may want to make this roll in secret so the player does not know the results. If the roll succeeds, the character knows when to start the rite so the end coincides with the moon and sun properly. If the roll fails, the character is unsure and must wait a full month before attempting the rite again. If the roll is a botch, the character is sure of the timing but is actually miscalculated. They will automatically fail at performing the rite. The character must lead the moot as described above. At the moot's climax, the player rolls Wits and Rituals difficulty 9 or 7 if the character has both the pure breed and ancestors backgrounds at 2 or higher. If the roll fails, the rite fails, and the character receives 3 health levels of aggravated damage. These appear as teardrop-shaped wounds on their body similar to the Tears of Gaia, commonly suffered by Garrow who attempt the rite of cairn building. If the roll is a botch, the character loses Gnosis or stamina as described below, but the rite still fails. If the roll succeeds, however, the player must decide how much land to reclaim from human corruption. For each dot of stamina or 2 dots of Gnosis, if the character is willing to expend, roughly 1 square acre of land reverts to the state it would be in had humans never developed it at all. This rite does not destroy any materials, that is, buildings and vehicles do not simply disappear, but plant growth will quickly crush and cover any human structures. Living things within the area of effect are not affected, except that they might find themselves trapped in buildings or carried to the tops of very large trees. The Gnosis or stamina spent on this rite is considered permanently gone unless bought up again with experience. You can just fucking cover a city in trees. You could just go to a city, bleed on the ground. If you're at the right time of the year with enough people, you can just fucking just overgrow half a city. That's fucking insane.
I'm also thinking of places like old battlegrounds from wars that you can go to and perform this rite at.
Yeah. Or it's like
I think it was
like Chernobyl, basically. It's like how overgrown that place is now.
Yeah. What was that place called? Like the Scar? I think there's like a place in France that was called like the Scar or something. I'm trying to pull it up
Scar?
on Google. Yeah, where there was just so much like titanium, carbon, and lead left there behind there that it permanently polluted that land.
Oh yeah.
So, if you want to revive St. Quentin's Scar, you can just send the Red Talons over there to do this. And behold, now it looks like it did back in the Jurassic area.
Yeah, covered in plants and trees and things live there.
And everything was lovely once again, and we will kill all the humans after that.
Yeah, basically. And they'll be, stuck in trees and trapped in buildings, and it'll be really interesting.
And they will all die, and everything will be happy once again.
Yep, such is the way of the Red Talons. Once we kill all the humans, then everything will go back to normal. We did it. We saved the world. Millions and billions of people are dead, and Gaia couldn't be happier.
And that's the good ending to Werewolf the Apocalypse.
Yeah, basically. Well, at least for the Red Talons.
The only nice endings in this series is the Mage the Ascension's Ascension, and that's it.
Yeah. Otherwise, this is the world of darkness. You are not going to make the world a better place in this game.
Nope.
You're just not.
You just gotta survive.
Yep. You're playing a World of Darkness game is current objective, survive. That doesn't mean you can't have fun. As we're showing in our Werewolf the Apocalypse live play, I'm having a fucking blast. Everybody else is having a blast. We wouldn't play the game if it wasn't fun.
You ready for the apocalypse scenario?
Go ahead.
So, this is awesome, dude. I think I like the Silverfang one just a little bit more than this one, but this one's awesome.
What is there?
So the Red Talons in Apocalypse decide that they're starving. So they just say, we no longer care about the litany saying we can't eat human flesh anymore. We're just going to eat human flesh whenever we get the chance to, because there's no fucking food around anymore. And a lot of them start getting a brain-eating disease that drives them crazy, where every Red Talon ends up becoming fucking insane after eating the brains of people. Somebody should have called the Silent Striders and told them, don't do that. We lost a camp to that. And what happens is that a Red Talon who's out of his mind discovers he can talk with a methane spirit and a fire spirit and learn a new gift. There is how much methane gas and crude oil beneath the world?
A lot.
So what they figure out they can do is that combining these into a new gift, they can just summon natural gas or fossil fuel in the middle of a city, snap their fingers like their Roy Mustang, and blow up massive cities with just a snap of a finger. And you start seeing cities around the world just spontaneously explode out of nowhere, as they just start blowing up human settlement after human settlement with this new gift. And they become the Ravengers, where they just lose their minds, and they don't talk to the Wyrm, they just fall on their own. And while they're fallen, they're not friends with the Black Spirals. They still recognize the Black Spirals as an enemy, and they kill the Black Spiral Dancers while they are the Ravengers. And the Wyrm doesn't really have control over these guys because they're just fucking crazy. And out of all the apocalypse scenarios, this is the one that causes the most damage to the world.
Well, yeah, with a gift like that, and with a tribe as fanatically genocidal as the Red Talons, they're just gonna never stop. They won't.
And you give them a power, a mage dynamic spell, pretty much from the Order of Hermes, that can just blow up an entire city.
Yeah, the world's basically done at that point. That is endgame stuff right there.
And just imagine how difficult they are to fight. Like, sure, the minute you're in close range, but just getting to that Red Talon, the range on that gift is insane. Where they can just stand outside the city limits, snap the fingers, and it will still explode. Just imagine, like, the force from that explosion too, and the heat.
Oh yeah, you'd be burnt to a crisp almost instantaneously. But the thing that kind of fucks me about that, the fact that it isn't the Wyrm that made that happen. The Red Talons just did that. Like, there's no way to cleanse them. There's no way to get them out of it. They just do it. And nobody says anything about it, because they can't.
They've been skirting the line on Wyrm corruption for years, and now they finally do it. And
it
they do it on their own
the Wyrm
decision.
that corrupts them. They just did it themselves.
And the fun thing about Griffin is that he's all for it when it happens.
Yeah, Because the Griffin hates humans as much as the Red Talons do.
Like, Griffin is raising his hands to the sky, cheering, saying, yes, I have my revenge. I've gotten what I want. I couldn't be happier. And it's such a metal-sounding ending, dude.
It is. It really is.
That really is a Warhammer 40k apocalypse scenario.
It absolutely is. But you and I were talking about this the other night, not to spoil the werewolf game at all, but human beings are very stubborn creatures.
Mm-hmm.
They're much like the Wyrm. There's no way to get rid of all of them. Mm-hmm. So all you're going to do is fuck them up so bad that they're going to talk to the Weaver and the Wyrm even harder than they did before, and then they're going to Impergium the werewolves. You are dooming yourself if you do that.
The only way you can really preserve the Gaia in utopia you want is to try to create a fourth member of the Triad. I don't know where you're going to get that from because you're not talking to mages, even though a wolf can ascend. A wolf can learn dynamic magic and reach a Ret 10, theoretically, though no wolf has ever tried that. So, the minute you unlock a Ret 10, you could ascend and become the fourth member of the Triad, and probably become like the source of neutrality that just preserves life. But no wolf has shown the initiative to do that. Granted, that could be in a campaign in and of itself. That could be how you combine werewolf and mage. But until that day comes, the best you can do with the Gaia Nation is just set everything back to zero.
That's what everything is trying to do nowadays because of how fucked everything is. But like we said, that's the whole point of Werewolf, is trying to persist in a doomed world. It's like never give up. But then again, I don't really agree with the whole thing that trying to reset, you can't go back. You really can't. Even when you do try to reset through whatever means you have available, all you're going to wind up doing is make things worse. And you're like, yeah, it might take another 10,000 years for things to get worse again, but they will eventually. So resetting it doesn't solve anything. Moving forward and trying to find new solutions to new problems is the only way to move forward. And much like we said, the bane of the pack bane of the Red Talons is that they are perpetually stuck in the past.
I mean, you see how many times China has collapsed and reformed. Long together the empire must divide, long divided the empire must unite. Thus it always has been.
Exactly.
And you will always get the generation who forgets what it was like to live in a divided empire, and then the generation who forgets what it's like to live in a unified empire. And that's what it's going to be constantly. The old and young generations are going to constantly fight and try to decide what should be the benefit of the world. Something Camarilla versus Anarchs in Vampire the Masquerade.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
So, because right now the Gaia Nation is a deeply divided place, as we've read through a number of tribe books, yes. But at some point in time, there is still the chance that anything can go right for the Gaia Nation as a whole. What that is far beyond any of us, but it's possible. How? That's an excellent question.
They are doing better than the mages, the 9 traditions.
Really?
Because the Order of Hermes and the Verbena are actively trying to kill the Celestial Chorus.
That doesn't sound like that'd go very well for him.
Yeah, it's because Christianity and Gnosticism don't exactly mix. Same with Christianity and paganism.
We talked about that in the Setite video, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So let's make some splats.
Yes.
Right. Vampires versus werewolves. Next matchup. Here we go. Cappadocians.
Why Cappadocians?
Pull this one up on the screen. Pull up the Cappadocians. I posted their little logo in the history pages. You know who these guys are, right?
Well, I don't know a whole lot. I know who they are. I don't know a whole lot about them.
What Cappadocius, who may or may not have been Sargon of Akkad, back in the Yule and time where we have almost no information about him, He believed that by being a vampire, that God did this by intention, that he wanted him to be the slayer of the wicked and the one to create an army of chosen judges who would go around smiting all the wicked off the face of the earth. They're vampires who thought they were good people. And of course, they were obsessed with death, and necromancy and mortis were their big things, where they raised the dead, talked to ghosts, caused decay. And these are guys who held onto their traditions and didn't see the new traditions, the new generation, the Giovanni sneaking around the corner, ready to stab them all in the back, leading to the massive genocide of the Cappadocians and eventually them being wiped out. So when I say Cappadocians, what I actually mean are the Harbingers of Skulls, the Cappadocians who survived the Feast of Folly, and eventually became unearthed after the Week of Nightmares. And that's what I mean, where you have these old Cappadocians who are well and truly in the past, fighting the werewolves who can't let go of the past. And you have two fossils fighting it out for a chronicle.
That is a really interesting idea. That, although I'd pitch an argument that because a lot of werewolf tribes hate the shit out of the gangrel, I think it'd be interesting to see how a Red Talon would interact with a gangrel, somebody who's losing themselves to the beast and reverting to a wild state. They'd probably still see them as a leech and kill them automatically, but
they hate leeches.
Absolutely. But I think just like in general, that'd be interesting to see.
You get a Whelps compromise who wants to observe a gangrel who's horribly mutated after years and years of frenzying.
Yep. Spike Cole lives out in the middle of the woods, just, hunting, selling meat, and living with his wife to avoid frenzying as much as possible.
Because you look like a freakazoid.
I'm trying my best not to.
Next up, other wolves. Pretty much you can create a chronicle with any of these guys. Probably not with the Children of Gaia or the Glasswalkers. You might want to leave them out of your group if somebody wants to play a Red Talon. Do play a Red Talon because these guys are very fun, but they just take a little bit to get used to.
Yes.
And mages. I don't really see them get along with any of the mages, dude.
No, not really. You said the fucking the Void Engineers, but there's not going to be a whole lot of overlap in a game for them.
That would be a fun little game for you to play as the Technocracy, where you come across an encounter of Red Talons, who, of course, know about the space program and keep saying, can you please send some more people to space for us and try to get these guys out of here? And what kind of weird encounter that would be.
That would be kind of hilarious, but also to feel like a hostage negotiation.
Yep, because they're already looking over their shoulders for the Glasswalkers.
Yes, absolutely.
See, looking at what other mages there are, I'm looking at the 9 traditions, and I don't see any of these guys teaming up. Like, definitely not the Sons of Ether or Virtual Adepts.
No, they're too Weaver for the Talons.
Yeah, and looking at all these. Now, I don't even think the Dream Speakers would work, dude.
No. Like, mages and Red Talons would not get along in general.
So, probably the Void Engineers. Well, actually, if you're playing as if you're doing a technocratic game, having any group of mages with a technocracy go up against the Red Talons would be great. Because Iteration X, I don't think I've fully described to you the joy I'm going to have when I get around to playing Iteration X.
I don't think you have either.
These guys are Dr. Robotnik, pretty much.
Oh, that's going to be great.
So, playing as the Iteration X's Eggman to the Red Talon Sonic, and what kind of fight that would be.
Those pesky Red Talons keep getting in the way of my plans to build Robotnik Land.
It's gotta be great to play the villain sometimes in these games.
Oh, yeah. That's why you play the Red Talons.
Wraith the Oblivion. Be a guy who was murdered by the Red Talons.
They brought that up in the book. Do that.
And changing the dreaming, typically don't like fairies because they still come from a human origin. But if you're doing changing dark ages, then they'd be fine with you, as long as you don't resemble a human. So if you're playing, I have the rulebook for changeling dark ages, and you're able to play as like small dragons or men made out of sticks for changing dark ages. So if you come to a Red Talon as one of those, absolutely, they will be more than happy to welcome you into the cairn because you are an animal, quote unquote, or nature, quote unquote, and you're having a great time with the Red Talons. But don't approach them as a changeling because they will kill you.
Yeah, they fucking kill everything they look at.
And Hunter the Reckoning, as tough of a game as Hunter the Reckoning is already, this would make for a very deadly, very scary boss encounter.
Oh, yeah. Like, if you want to play some Alien versus Predator shit, or no, just straight Predator shit, just have a group of hunters in the woods just being relentlessly hunted by a Red Talon. It'd be like...
I think you're being...
What's up?
I think you're being generous with this one, dude. I think it's more like a Dead by Daylight game.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, you either have to escape or you have to just... I feel like it'd be like a hunter trying to hunt a Red Talon. It'd be a lot like... I was actually watching a video about this. Metroid Fusion, kind of. Where you are woefully underpowered fighting this Red Talon. And you need to keep running and keep hiding and keep slowly building up your resources and your knowledge to eventually kill a Red Talon. And even when you do, if you manage to, your character will be forever scarred by the experience of having to hunt a Red Talon.
The day you get your hands on a Switch, you would love Metroid Dread.
I mean, my sister has a Switch, but I'm not going to steal hers just to buy Metroid Dread. But I really want to play Metroid Dread because I want to support them making more Metroid games, but I also don't want to support Nintendo. It's kind of a catch-22.
Yep. You wasted $40,000 on sending them a message about F-Zero.
Yeah, basically. It's okay. I'm not gonna get a new Star Fox game either. So you know what? Neither of us are getting what we want.
At least that F-Zero is still getting mods.
Which one? GX?
F-Zero. Yeah, GX has got a mod scene, dude.
No shit.
I gotta show you that later, but
yeah,
nope.
Definitely.
Actually, yeah, I think that's the end of the episode.
Yeah, the Red Talons. They put the terror in eco-terrorism, and they kill everything they fucking look at.
Now, do you understand why I like this tribe so much?
Oh, no, now I'm just more scared of them than I was before. Man, fuck these guys. They're all dickheads.
You didn't say that about the Wendigo, and you haven't said that about looking into the Gaia Fenris.
No, the Wendigo are cool as shit. I like the Wendigo.
The message behind the Red Talons is plain clear. Fear.
Yes. And I thought like some of the silenced or some of the fucking silver or no, some of the Shadow Lord camps were kind of fucking scary. No, fuck that. The Red Talons are terrifying.
It's the difference between being chased after Candyman from the horror movie to being chased after who's a killer that freaks a lot of people the fuck out.
Leatherface.
I was gonna say Mike Myers.
Yeah, that too.
Just being chased by something that just won't die and looks human but definitely is not.
Yes. They look like a wolf, but only just. They're going to fucking kill you.
Is there a horror movie where there's like a giant monster coming after you instead? I'm thinking like something like Cloverfield, but not quite.
There's Alien.
I was going to say Little Shop of Horrors if you play it straight.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Either way, good luck sleeping tonight. Don't let the Talons bite.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Freaky. Good night.